Chapter 127. But your merchant association is in my Qing family's territory. Young Master Qing stood with his hands clasped behind his back. He was surrounded by a few experts and looked down on everyone. The greatest clan in Sword Polarity City is my Qing clan, and my Qing clan originated from the Broken Sword sect. There are countless elders of my Qing clan in the Broken Sword sect, and they are all existences that transcend the limits. The man was powerless to argue. Of course I know your Qing family is powerful, but young master is going too far. If this happened outside of my merchant association, I naturally wouldn't say anything. But if it happened in my merchant association, who would come to do business with me in the future? Young Master Qing's expression suddenly sank. Do you want me to ask for a decree from my family? No, no. The man hastily smiled. It seemed he really was afraid of the Qing family's decree. Xiao Mei turned around and nodded to young Master Qing. Young master, I can sell my pill formula to you, but I still want to buy some things from the merchant association with my companions. Can you do that? Haha, it's my honor to be able to wait for you. I'll just wait in the hall for you. Right, I'm Qing Rulong from the Qing family. You must remember me. Young Master Qing was overjoyed. He didn't expect Xiao Mei to take the initiative to throw herself at him. The three of them exchanged glances with the man from the Merchant Association. The man understood and bowed to Qing Rulong before bringing them into a room in front of them. Just as Qing Rulong sat down, an expert beside him was puzzled. Young master, why do you have to make things difficult for the Merchant Association? They often pay tribute to our Qing family. There are gods of wealth. That woman has a pure yuan pill formula. This kind of pill formula is a treasure. I didn't expect to encounter such a good thing after just coming back from the Broken Sword sect. Furthermore, that woman's beauty is outstanding. I don't need to spend money to go to the Dual Immortal sect. If I take her essence, I'll be able to break through the longevity realm and reach a higher realm. Qing Rulong acted as if he had a card up his sleeve. Inside the cabinet, we can continue with the transaction. The man from the Merchant Association invited the three of them to sit down. His face was filled with displeasure. But with Qing Rulong here, I really can't accept your pill formula. Xiao Mei asked, what is the Qing family's background? The man complained, they have a great background. The Qing clan has been cultivating in the Broken Sword sect for generations, and they have a strong foundation within the Broken Sword sect. They are the overlords of this Sword Polarity City, and most merchant guilds don't dare to offend them. Offending them is the same as offending the Broken Sword sect. Su Fang observed from the side, and saw that the man seemed to have something to say, but he still wanted to tell them. Senior, if you have something to say, you can just say it. We're just ordinary cultivators in the law-opening realm. We haven't condensed our gold core yet, so we can't offend the Qing family. This Qing Rulong has reached the peak of the longevity realm and is about to break through to the next realm. He has always been thinking of ways to break through. He often goes to the Twin Immortal sect and often interacts with the female cultivators there. He plans to use dual cultivation to break through. That's why he has taken a liking to this lady's beauty. I'm afraid she won't be able to escape this time. Secondly, the Qing clan has always been vicious and merciless, using their strength to bully the weak. Doesn't that mean we won't be able to survive? It's all my fault. I didn't expect you to have the pure origin pills recipe. If I had known earlier, I would have let you come to the cabinet to discuss in detail. Who would have thought that Qing Rulong would interfere? He's the grandson of one of the Qing clan's elders, and we can't afford to offend him. Alright, what do you want? Su Fang said, we want teleportation talismans, so we'll exchange our previous transcendent artifacts for teleportation talismans. Then we can only exchange for 20 of them, and they're of the heavenly fusion realm. The man proposed a number, but the three of them didn't haggle and left the room for the time being. What should we do? After the merchant left, Xiao Meier nervously approached Su Fang. She wanted to know what Su Fang wanted the teleportation talismans for, 20 of them. Dao Wuliang also didn't know what Su Fang was planning, but after Su Fang roughly explained his plan, Xiao Meier's face turned pale. Haha, good. Master Dao is the only one in this world who can bully others, and there's also someone who can lead me around by the nose. Dao Wuliang laughed sinisterly. He felt that under his expression, Qing Rulong, who he couldn't afford to offend in Sword Polarity City, was about to become a piece of meat waiting to be slaughtered. To deal with a perverted criminal, you have to have some methods. Su Fang seemed to have become a kindred spirit with Dao Wuliang, causing Xiao Meier to hesitate. But when she thought of what kind of person Qing Rulong was, she quickly became furious. The merchant quickly returned. Although they hadn't successfully exchanged the pure origin pills, with the teleportation talismans, they had the ability to escape. The three of them arrived in the hall, and Qing Rulong warmly welcomed them. With a single glance, one could tell that someone who was unaccountably solicitous was hiding evil intentions. After leaving the Chamber of Commerce, Qing Rulong invited the three of them to the Qing clan. Xiao Meier acted like concubine Xiao when she had gone to the state of Zhao. These are my two older brothers. They haven't seen much of the world, and they just traded some items. They want to return early. Why don't you and I send them out of the city? You can also take me to see the beautiful scenery of Sword Polarity City, so as not to waste the good weather. Naturally, no problem. I'm also in a good mood right now. Qing Rulong immediately agreed. Xiao Meier whispered, I like peace and quiet. Don't let them dampen my mood. Go back and accompany my junior brothers. Don't neglect them. Being alone was probably what Qing Rulong wanted. He wanted no one to disturb him. The experts disappeared into the crowd, and the three of them gradually left Sword Polarity City under Qing Rulong's guidance. After leaving the city, the four of them summoned their flying swords and gradually left Sword Polarity City. Xiao Meier took the initiative to chat with Qing Rulong until they could no longer see Sword Polarity City. Master, let's stop here. It's about time. Deep in the clouds, Xiao Meier slowly approached Qing Rulong. Her voice was like an oriole's, charming Qing Rulong. Qing Rulong gradually slowed down, and Xiao Meier signaled him to look at a strange peak in front of him. She secretly used her left hand to call out to the back. Buzz. Su Fang and Dao Wuliang had been following behind Qing Rulong like servants. When they saw Xiao Meier's signal, the two of them took a step forward and were only 2 feet away from Qing Rulong. At the same time, they spat out Xian Guang from their palms. Dao Wuliang's mysterious wooden stick and the Xian Huang's 6 Paths Pagoda that shot out from Su Fang's palm, the two peerless magic treasures struck the back of Qing Rulong's head with lightning speed while he was distracted by his beauty and was completely unprepared for it. Boom! Longevity Realm. The two of them were facing an expert who had surpassed the Heaven Merge realm. They had used 2 of their strongest artifacts to launch a sneak attack. Furthermore, it was an all-out attack. The artifacts struck the back of Qing Rulong's head at the same time. Qing Rulong's body had a layer of miraculous physical defense that slightly blocked the 2 artifacts. However, before Qing Rulong could react, his defense was shattered by the wooden stick and the Xian Huang 6 Paths Pagoda. Next, it was Qing Rulong's head. His head was tossed up like a watermelon and instantly shattered. Blood splattered everywhere. The 2 artifacts caused the space in front of them to tremble and ripple with a destructive aura. Su Fang flashed and supported Xiao Meier. His other hand quickly grabbed Qing Rulong's headless body. Buzz. Crack. There seemed to be something in Qing Rulong's body that suddenly shattered when he was killed. At the same time, Su Fang grabbed his corpse. Dao Wuliang was shocked and grabbed the wooden stick back. Not good, this person's body had a natal Dao talisman planted by an expert. Once he loses his life, the natal Dao talisman will instantly shatter. Then, the natal Tao talisman will be discovered by the person who formed it. Teleportation talisman. The three of them gathered. Although they did not know what the natal Tao talisman was, it must be a treasure that Dao Wuliang recognized. It must be extraordinary. Su Fang also took out the 20 teleportation talismans he bought earlier. He immediately crushed one, and the three of them flashed through the air. Natal tracking. In just 3 breaths, there was still some blood mist left in the sky. Suddenly, the clouds in the sky rolled away, and an old man came out furiously. He looked at the remaining blood mist, and tears streamed down his face. He was heartbroken. He looked around and said, "Who is it? Who is it? You can't run out of the broken sword sect's territory." Elder. After a while, dozens of experts flew over. Only a small portion of the Heaven Fusion Realm experts had condensed their golden cores. Get the clan to send people out immediately. Search in all directions. As for the rest, bring the guards that followed the young master here. The old man was furious. He wanted to turn the world upside down. High in the sky, far away, whoosh. 3 figures appeared, all of them covered in cold sweat. When they looked back, there was no one in the sky, nor was there anything strange. Dao Wuliang seemed to have not vented his anger yet. This is the result of bullying me. This should be the broken sword sect's territory. Without the teleportation talisman, we will be in danger. The Qing clan will definitely send out a large number of experts to search for us under the broken sword sect's territory. Let's go down and hide for a while. There was no good way. In such a short time, Su Fang analyzed the situation that was disadvantageous to them. The three of them quickly entered the depths of the mountains. After an hour, Dao Wuliang sighed. He was not resigned. We can't wait here forever. Su Fang was also helpless. He had no way to deal with this. The Qing clan will definitely find our appearances. Can we still leave the broken sword sect's territory? As for Xiao Mei, she was also very uneasy. She felt that they would be discovered at any time. She was like a startled bird. Brat. When night came, the three of them were deep in thought. Suddenly, the Green Feather King's voice rang out in their minds. Su Fang quickly separated his consciousness and entered the first layer of Xianhuang. As soon as he entered, he saw Bai Ling sleeping in the distance. The Flying Tiger King was like a guard beside the Green Feather King. The Green Feather King had transformed into a middle-aged man and was sitting leisurely in the air. He leisurely said, "The Broken Sword sect is very powerful. Do you think the three of you are a match for them? Juniors don't want to offend such a huge crocodile, but we also don't want to be stepped on. Senior, please save us." Su Fang cupped his fists. He casually said, "This king has a bone-shifting art that can change his appearance. Isn't that simple? Also, you need to find a place to hide from the Broken Sword sect." Find a place? We're planning to go to the Immortal Ceiling sect and become their disciples. That's even better. This king understands the Immortal Ceiling sect incomparably well, and he also has the spiritual qi of the Immortal Ceiling sect. As long as the three of you absorb that spiritual qi and change your appearances, you'll be able to easily enter the Immortal Ceiling sect and cultivate there. Just think of your ancestors as having once cultivated in the Immortal Ceiling sect, and you'll be able to fuse with the energy your ancestors left behind. That way, you'll be able to smoothly become an outer disciple of the Immortal Ceiling sect. However, entering the Immortal Ceiling sect isn't the same as sending this king into a trap. How could Junior allow the Immortal Ceiling sect to sense Senior's aura? Furthermore, with Senior's plan, the Immortal Ceiling sect won't be able to guess you're in the Immortal Ceiling sect. If Senior can avoid the Immortal Ceiling sect, we'll be able to reach our respective goals. Go and prepare yourself. This king really doesn't know what to do with you. In the future, don't be so reckless. This king will have to wipe your mouths for you." The Green Feather King sighed. If something happened to Su Fang, he was doomed. It wouldn't be 2 lives, but 1 corpse would have many lives. Chapter 128. After leaving Xinhuang, Su Fang told Dao Wuliang and Xiao Meier the news. He hadn't expected Green Feather King to help him. Bone-shifting art. After a while, some words of a mental cultivation technique entered Su Fang's mind. This was an outer Dao cultivation technique that had extremely high requirements for the physical body. It purely used physical strength to control the flesh and bones to change one's appearance. It was as if it was tailor-made for Su Fang. He was someone with a perfect physical body, and he had been cultivating his physical body since he was young. It was very difficult for Xiao Meier, but it was relatively easier for Dao Wuliang. He was a demon fox and could transform. In addition, Dao Wuliang could perfectly hide his demon aura. Even an immortal-level expert like Qing Rulong would not be able to sense his demon aura. The 3 of them cultivated together in secret. In just a few days, Su Fang had already grasped the bone-shifting art. He could move his flesh, face, and bones all over his body. Of course, it was still a bit painful to move. After all, flesh and blood were connected. After a while, Su Fang's appearance changed. He was still ordinary, but his face was more slender. His eyebrows gave off the feeling of a phoenix. It was completely different from his original appearance. There should be quite a few treasures in Qing Rulong's body. After changing his appearance, he entered the first layer of Xinhuang and brought in Qing Rulong's corpse. After searching, he found an empty pouch and 2 magic treasures that had fused into his body. The first was a yellow gourd that was a foot long. It didn't seem to have anything special about it. The other magic treasure was an ice bead. This ice bead is a middle-grade magic treasure. It has been used by the spirit snake saber, the ghost king claw, and the golden silkworm blood sword. Since Mei doesn't have a good magic treasure, I'll give it to her. Green Feather King suddenly opened his eyes. Kid, this ice bead is not bad. It's already a peak middle-grade magic treasure, but it's still not as good as your gourd. Putting away the ice bead, he examined the yellow gourd again. It felt light and weightless. How could it be a treasure? Kid, you don't have good eyesight. Green Feather King shouted. A long time ago, the Crimson Firmament continent was called the Gourd continent. So what if it is the Calabash continent? Could it be related to this calabash? There's a dangerous abyss in the Crimson Firmament continent called the Heavenly Gourd domain. Inside, there's a yellow gourd similar to this one. People call it the Domain Spirit Gourd. It's a spiritual item of heaven and earth, and it's born with a large space inside. Thus, it's a treasure that countless big shots of the Crimson Firmament continent want to obtain. It can be used to refine all kinds of magic treasures, the Green Feather King explained. When this king went to the Heavenly Gourd domain to search for the Domain Spirit Gourd, there was also that coquettish fox, Daojin Fox Mother. Unfortunately, our luck was a bit lacking, and we didn't encounter it a few times. However, there were still people who obtained the Domain Spirit Gourd, such as the Immortal Sealing Sect and the Broken Sword Sect. The Broken Sword Sect used the Domain Spirit Gourd as a spiritual source to cultivate some similar spirit gourd. The spirit gourd in your hand should be one of them. The Earth Realm Spirit Gourd was indeed a great treasure. I don't know what kind of energy was used to refine this spiritual gourd, but it should be a combination of offense and defense. Think about it yourself. Once Green Feather King finished speaking, Su Fang immediately dripped a drop of blood into the spiritual gourd. His soul seemed to come alive, and it also had some weight. A few spiritual marks in the shape of a gourd faintly flowed into Su Fang. The spiritual marks recorded the restrictions inside the spiritual gourd. When his consciousness entered the spiritual gourd, he immediately saw a spacious treasure space. It naturally couldn't be compared to Profound Yellow, but it was still 1/10 the size of Profound Yellow's first layer. The spiritual gourd truly contained a natural space. So many treasures. There was a barrier at the center of the space, and a large number of treasure boxes were placed inside. He first smelled the aura of pure origin pills. Su Fang then looked around, but he didn't see any special energy. It seemed this spiritual gourd was only used to store items. After asking Green Feather King, he learned that this spiritual gourd had yet to be cultivated. Even Qing Rulong had just obtained his soul and hadn't had time to fuse it with his soul to cultivate an offensive energy. Isn't it just nice to cultivate illusion fire cloud? From now on, you'll be called Flaming Cloud Spiritual Gourd. He didn't expect to be so lucky to obtain such a rare artifact. Come out. Su Fang patted Qing Rulong's corpse and sucked out a golden core from his dantian. This was the golden core he urgently needed. If a vast core realm cultivator had a golden core, they could absorb the power of the golden core and condense the core embryo into a golden core, breaking through the vast core realm and stepping into the heavenly fusion realm. Broken Sword Sect is truly amazing. Qing Rulong even cultivated 6 divine abilities. It's a pity he didn't have time to use them. Immortality Realm Golden Core compared to the Heavenly Harmony Golden Elixir that he obtained from killing King Langjun, it was definitely a different kind of golden elixir. This golden core was entangled by 6 divine marks. Some of the divine marks were golden, one was red and one was black. The 6 divine marks were intertwined around the golden core, making it indestructible. Even if Qing Rulong died, the golden core could still be preserved for a long time. The cultivators of the Crimson Nimbus continent, like those in the Immortality realm, could cultivate 6 divine abilities. Su Fang grabbed the golden core and ran to the other side. Flying Tiger King, this Immortality realm cultivator's corpse is yours. Many thanks, Master. Flying Tiger King leaped up. Perhaps if he swallowed this corpse, he could condense a golden core and become a powerful existence like Dao Wuliang. After leaving the profound yellow space, Su Fang returned to his main body. He came to Xiao Mei-er's side and took a closer look. Xiao Mei-er's appearance had also changed. 70% of it had changed, and 30% of it was her temperament and demeanor. Su Fang took out a treasure. This is Qing Rulong's golden core and the transcendent artifact he used. You want to give me such a precious treasure? Xiao Mei-er was very shocked. She stared at the ice pearl and was attracted by the golden core, especially the golden core. Vast core realm cultivators couldn't break through and condense a golden core because the golden core wasn't easy to cultivate. However, vast core realm cultivators could receive another person's golden core and successfully condense it. An enchanted item and a golden core. No matter how precious they are, they're just magic treasures. Su Fang returned to the other side and continued cultivating. Xiao Mei-er didn't stand on ceremony. She put away the ice pearl and slowly placed the golden core into her abdomen. It seemed she was preparing to absorb the golden core and advance to the heavenly fusion realm. A month later, the 3 of them split up. Dao Wuliang went to the celestial sealing sect by himself, while Su Fang and Xiao Mei-er went together. They decided to meet at the celestial sealing sect. Carrying the map Dao Wuliang had left behind, Su Fang and Xiao Mei-er flew through the land on their flying sword. They would often run into disciples of the Broken Sword sect or cultivators from other cities. As expected, those people were all holding portraits of the 3 of them and looking for 2 men and 1 woman. Those big powers have deep pockets. They even put a bounty of 30,000 immortality, realm pure origin pills, for capturing the 3 of us. A few days later, the 2 of them gradually left the Broken Sword sect's territory. Su Fang and Xiao Mei-er could finally relax. After finding a city, the 2 of them rested in the city for a while. Su Fang obtained 50,000 pure origin pills from Qing Rulong. Most of them were in the Immortality realm, while a few were in the Heavenly Fusion realm. Other than the pure origin pills, there were also over 20 magic tools. Unfortunately, there weren't any special magic treasures. There were also over 10 divine abilities. Su Fang let Xiao Mei choose, and she ultimately chose 2 divine abilities. Can 50,000 pure origin pills buy a pill cauldron for refining magic tools? After resting for a while, the 2 of them strolled around the street. Of course, they still liked to go to the Merchant Association. After all, there were all kinds of treasures there. At this moment, on the floor of a Merchant Association, there were all kinds of magic treasures on the counter. Xiao Mei was attracted by a small cauldron. It was a treasure that alchemists needed to have. Su Fang called a merchant over and directly asked for the price of the cauldron. The merchant immediately shook his head. This cauldron is a mid-grade magic tool. It requires 500,000 immortality realm pure origin pills. 500,000 pure origin pills. That was too frightening. Qing Rulong only needed 50,000 pure origin pills. Didn't that mean that an immortality realm cultivator couldn't have a pill cauldron? However, Qing Rulong was a hedonistic young master. It was impossible for him to carry a large amount of pure origin pills with him. Seeing that Xiao Mei was so curious about the pill cauldron, the merchant said, "I heard that Zunv Pavilion is recruiting female alchemists. The method is to identify pill cauldrons. You can go there and take a look. I heard that many alchemists are going there to watch the show." Qingling City. Xiao Mei hurriedly looked at Su Fang. Su Fang took out a map and compared it. It would take at least a month to travel. They would pass by many cities on the way, and Qingling City just happened to be in the territory of the All Saints sect. Xiao Mei obviously wanted to go to Qingling City. Fine, it wouldn't be a problem to meet up with Dao Wuliang at the Celestial Sealing sect later. After all, they had left the territory of the Broken Sword sect. However, before leaving, Su Fang bought all the gold and silver from this merchant association. Many people found it unbelievable. Why would a cultivator want the gold and silver of mortals? The 2 of them rode on their flying swords and used 1.5 months to enter the territory of the All Saints sect. The All Saints sect was only a second-rate power. Below the Broken Sword sect, it would be good if they had 1/10 of the foundation of the Celestial Sealing sect. Qingling City was naturally related to the All Saints sect. When the 2 of them arrived at Qingling City, they felt that it was about the same size as Jianji City. Most of the buildings in the city were mainly green. "Kid, Zunv Pavilion isn't simple." After inquiring about the location of the Zunv Pavilion's disciple recruitment, Su Fang and Xiao Mei rushed to their destination. He also secretly asked the Green Feather King about the origins of Zunv Pavilion. Zunv Pavilion wasn't actually a sect of the Scarlet Firmament continent. It was a powerful existence like the Celestial Sealing sect in the Zhuotian world. Zunv Pavilion had a majority of female disciples, and they were also respected. Male disciples had a very low status in Zunv Pavilion. They almost didn't have any status. Su Fang said, "I didn't expect there to be a special sect like Zunv Pavilion in this world." The Green Feather King snorted. "Don't you know about the Twin Immortal sect? The Twin Immortal sect is a sect that focuses on male and female dual cultivation, while the Zunv Pavilion is a sect that focuses on females. There are also some special existences in the Zhuotian world. Of course, there are even more unknown powers in the small worlds outside the Zhuotian world. Once you become an undying and indestructible expert, you might be able to leave the Zhuotian world and go to the greater worlds to take a look." Profound Jade Merchant Association. Unknowingly, the 2 of them arrived at a very large merchant association. Xiao Mei excitedly pointed. Looking around, Su Fang saw many female cultivators entering the Profound Jade Merchant Association. Of course, there were even more male cultivators, and there were also cultivators in pairs. After entering the Mystic Jade Chamber of Commerce, they saw that there were both men and women merchants here. After the 2 of them got to know each other, they found out that the Mystic Jade Chamber of Commerce was related to the Mystic Lady Pavilion. It was also one of the few large chambers of commerce on the Crimson Heaven continent, comparable to a second-rate force, almost on par with the Green Mountain's Myriad Saints sect. For a merchant association to have such influence, it could be seen that a large power was extraordinary. A power like the Celestial Sealing sect would definitely establish such a merchant association. This time, the Zunv Pavilion has entrusted our merchant association to recruit 300 female disciples in the Scarlet Firmament continent. At least you have some outstanding aspects, and all of you have a chance of passing the examination. In the center of the hall, many women surrounded the central counter. A few female merchants were introducing them to the crowd. Chapter 129. Although they were merchants, these women were all very beautiful. In terms of cultivation, they were mainly from the Chamber of Commerce, and their cultivation was either at the Heaven Union realm or the Longevity realm. In the Crimson Firmament continent, the Heaven Union realm was considered an expert, and the Longevity realm was considered an expert. People like Qing Rulong were experts. If it was a head-on confrontation, Dao Wuliang and Su Fang would not be able to resist one of his fingers. May Er, there are indeed many pill cauldrons here. But I think you have something on your mind. Su Fang followed Xiao Mei Er to the special floor. Here, Xiao Mei Er was only concerned about the pill cauldrons. Under Su Fang's sharp observation, he found that Xiao Mei Er was a little absent-minded. Xiao Mei Er came to the side of the stairs and looked at the lively hall below. Actually, I'm considering entering Zunv Pavilion to cultivate, but I also want to go to the Celestial Sealing sect to take back Master's pill cauldron from Zhao Wuji. I'll deal with Zhao Wuji. Since you want to enter Zunv Pavilion to cultivate, you should decisively sign up now. Zunv Pavilion is a female cultivation sect. It's more suitable than you going to the Celestial Sealing sect. Also, it's recruiting disciples. You agree? Of course I agree. Moreover, this is your matter. You can be completely sure. You! Xiao Mei Er was so angry that her cheeks turned red. She loosened her fist and angrily went down the stairs. Under Su Fang's accompaniment, Xiao Mei Er not only signed up, but also entered the Chamber of Commerce for further examination. Su Fang could only wait and take the opportunity to buy gold and silver from the profound Jade Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber of Commerce had everything, but there was not much gold and silver. Cultivators did not care about this at all. Only a portion of refiners or cultivators liked to refine gold and silver power, refine magic treasures, or cultivate puppets. These few times, they had bought a large amount of gold and silver from the Chamber of Commerce. Now, in the profound yellow space, Green Feather King was still in charge of refining gold and silver in the third level. Although Su Fang cultivated the illusory fire cloud, his cultivation was too weak and his realm was low. Only at the Heaven Union realm could he activate the spirit fire for a certain amount of time. After waiting for a while, Xiao Mei Er finally came out, but she was a little unhappy. She should have failed the examination. Su Fang comforted him, "Don't be sad. We can still go to the Immortal Sealing sect." In the end, Xiao Mei Er hugged Su Fang and smiled mischievously. "I passed. You scared me. Are you deliberately teasing me?" "I'm teasing you on purpose. Actually, I'm also reluctant to part with you, but who asked me to pass the Zunv Pavilion's test just like that? They've already accepted me as an in-name disciple, and from today onwards, I'll stay in the profound Jade Chamber of Commerce. In a few days, someone will send me to the Zunv Pavilion. Actually, it's even more dangerous for you to go to the Celestial Sealing sect." I was also a bit hesitant. Who would have thought that you would join the Zunv Pavilion? That's right, go to the Zunv Pavilion and restore your appearance. The Zunv Pavilion isn't in the Crimson Firmament continent, so you don't have to fear the Broken Sword sect. I have to go in. Xiao Mei Er was reluctant to part with him. Thank you for this period of time. I have to thank you for saving me several times. You're gonna break up. Su Fang was surprised and scratched his head. You're the first cultivator I met before I stepped onto the path of cultivation. After experiencing all this, I've long treated you as a friend. You're treating me as an outsider just because you're saying thank you. Remember, you can't hook up with other female cultivators in the celestial sealing sect. You've warmed my bed before, and I've only let you on my bed in my life. In the past, I refused to leave that trash emperor of the Zhao Empire time and time again. Take care. Xiao Mei suddenly had the aura of a queen and deliberately hammered Su Fang's chest. Then, she turned and walked towards the inner pavilion. When Xiao Mei turned around, a tear fell from the corner of her eye. Mei Su Fang subconsciously chased after her, but Xiao Mei deliberately quickened her pace and entered the inner pavilion. Su Fang was blocked outside by the merchant. Brat, that woman is interested in you. Green Feather King suddenly said. If you can't bear to part with her, why don't you go and bring her back? The Zunv Pavilion is very far away. Once she goes, you might not be able to see her for 100 years. Su Fang didn't listen. It's a good thing that she can enter the Zunv Pavilion. Green Feather King sighed. It's fine. Don't be so sentimental and focus on cultivation. Only then can you stand at the peak and help this king take revenge on the Celestial Sealing Sect in the future. This king's magic treasure is also being suppressed by the Celestial Sealing Sect. Silently wishing in his heart, Su Fang left the profound Jade Chamber of Commerce. After he left, Xiao Mei also walked out of the room and silently followed behind the crowd. After leaving the Chamber of Commerce, they went to the street. Finally, Xiao Mei watched Su Fang leave on his flying sword at the city gate. It seems like someone is talking to me. In the air, Su Fang turned back to look at Qingling City. Other than the city, he didn't see anything else. He continued to step on his flying sword and rush towards the Celestial Sealing Sect. Dao Wuliang was still waiting for him there. 3 years later, in a forest shrouded in the scorching sun, a demon was wrapped in flames and quickly swept away by the red light. Another Yang Qi bead. In the forest, Su Fang put away the Origin Saint and subdued the demon that accidentally broke in. I just stepped into the 7th level of the vast core realm, and I can get a few Yang Qi pearls to replenish my energy and aid my cultivation. Seeing that he was about to enter the territory of the Celestial Sealing Sect, who knew that after rushing for more than 2 years, he would encounter another advancement. From the 6th level of the vast core realm to the 7th level, he was one step closer to the heavenly fusion realm. After consuming the Yang Qi pearl, Su Fang continued to rush on his flying sword. Kid, you have entered the territory of the Celestial Sealing Sect. This king can sense the strange spiritual energy coming from the Celestial Sealing Sect. Listen carefully, this king will tell you about the Celestial Sealing Sect. In the sky, Su Fang was flying through the clouds. In his mind, Green Feather King's figure appeared. The Celestial Sealing Sect has been established for more than 100,000 years, and many immortals have been born. They have all successfully ascended to the outside world and become truly immortal immortals. To Su Fang, the legend of the immortal was a legendary existence. Green Feather King continued, immortals are existences who have transcended the mortal world. They are existences with boundless magic power. With a flip of their hand, they can summon clouds and rain. With one move, they can destroy the Crimson Firmament continent. It is precisely because the Celestial Sealing Sect has given birth to immortals that it is the #1 sect in the Crimson Firmament continent. It is also one of the major powers in the Zhuotian world, just like the Zunv Pavilion. Of course, the Zunv Pavilion has also given birth to many immortals. The Celestial Sealing Sect is incomparably rich in resources. Generations of experts have found a large number of treasures in different small worlds or forbidden areas. The genius disciples of the Celestial Sealing Sect can obtain these resources. There are also king-grade artifacts in the Celestial Sealing Sect, and there are even existences who have transcended king-grade artifact. Dao artifacts. Su Fang was even more curious. Above Dao artifacts are Dao artifacts. Treasures are divided into spirit treasures, artifacts, Dao artifacts, and divine artifacts. The people of the small worlds are all mortals, and mortals use artifact. Dao artifacts are existences that only immortals of the outside world can use. As for divine artifacts, they are legends. Since Dao artifacts are treasures of the immortals of the outside world, why does the Celestial Sealing sect have them? It's hard to say. Some Dao artifacts will come from the outside world to the small world because of spacetime shattering. Some Dao artifacts will come from the outside world to the small world because they are looking for a successor. And some immortals will leave their Dao artifacts in the small world after they die. After Green Feather King's introduction, Su Fang understood how powerful the Celestial Sealing sect was. Capital Seal City under the control of the Celestial Sealing sect was a very famous city on the Crimson Firmament continent. Back then, he had agreed to meet Dao Wuliang in Capital Seal City. The city gates and walls were not only guarded by experts, but the entire city was also protected by a barrier. The Broken Sword Sect's Sword Apex City was like a small piece of land in front of Capital Seal City. There were many merchants and even more cultivators in the city. Some of the cultivators in yellow were the center of attention because they were from the Celestial Sealing sect. Whether it was their gaze, aura, or footwork, the disciples of the Celestial Sealing sect all had the bearing of a supreme. It was as if they were the only existences in this world. Buzz. After entering the city's main street, a buzzing sound appeared in his mind. After turning the corner, he immediately met Dao Wuliang. He had turned into a young man in blue who was close to 20 years old. There was a trace of evil in his eyes. Grandpa Dao is very clear about the Celestial Sealing sect. Other than the public disciple recruitment that happens once every 100 years, they have a few other ways to recruit disciples. The two of them looked for merchant houses and entered one after another. Their main goal was to collect gold and silver. Dao Wuliang secretly told Su Fang about the Celestial Sealing sect. At the same time, he also knew that Xiao Mei had gone to Zunv Pavilion to cultivate. The Celestial Sealing sect is very strict when it comes to recruiting disciples. The most suitable way for us is to accept missions from the Celestial Sealing sect. After completing the missions, we can become disciples. However, the missions are not simple. This is indeed very suitable for us. After buying a large amount of gold and silver, the two of them left Capital Seal City and flew directly to the Celestial Sealing sect's training grounds. About 6 days later, a world that shocked Su Fang and Dao Wuliang appeared. This was because above the ground in the distance, there were many towering mountains floating in the clouds. Some were only a few hundred feet away from the ground. Some were a few hundred feet away from the ground. Some were a few thousand feet away from the ground. There were even floating mountains that reached the 9 heavens. Celestial Sealing sect's training grounds. Dao Wuliang sighed. As expected of the Crimson Firmament continent's greatest power. Look at these floating mountains. How many spirit stones did they use? How many experts did they use to activate the formation? Su Fang said emotionally, coming to the Celestial Sealing sect is not just to retrieve the spirit vein from Zhao Wuji. I also want to cultivate here. This is the true holy land for cultivation. One day, I will become famous in the celestial world from here. After an incense stick's worth of time, the two of them rode on their flying swords and were about to approach the Celestial Sealing sect's training grounds. Suddenly, a barrier appeared in the void and blocked them. Then, a cold order came from above. This is the training grounds' holy land. Outsiders are not allowed to approach. Su Fang cupped his fists. We want to become disciples of the Celestial Sealing sect. We are here to accept the mission. Just stand there. The formation will guide you. The Celestial Sealing sect's disciple did not appear. The barrier suddenly transformed, and the celestial sealing sect's training grounds could no longer be seen. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The formation disappeared after 3 breaths. The 2 of them were in front of a huge mountain. Behind the huge mountain was the celestial sealing sect's training grounds. Unfortunately, it was hidden by the barrier. You want to become disciples of the sect? The huge mountain was not ordinary. It did not seem to be floating, but a barrier suddenly appeared in the void. A few yellow-robed disciples of the celestial sealing sect appeared one by one. Yes. Su Fang and Dao Wuliang bowed. Since you want to join the sect through the mission, you don't have to care about other aspects. Seeing that your realms have not reached the Heavenly Union realm, it will not be easy to carry out the mission. Naturally, we will not deliberately make things difficult for you. After one of them finished speaking, he immediately took out a jade slip. Last time, the world changed. Under the protection of the Celestial Sealing Sect, several powerful big goblin wreaked havoc in the Gu King's Valley. Some cultivators also surrounded the Gu King's Valley, eyeing the precious Gu worms in the Gu King's Valley. If you can kill 5 of them, you can become temporary disciples of the sect. Our sect is very strict when it comes to accepting disciples. However, only temporary disciples have the chance to become official disciples. What a coincidence! Gu King's Valley. Could it be Gu worms? Su Fang took the jade slip and was surprised. It seemed that there were also Gu cultivators in the Crimson Firmament continent. The other party waved his hand and said coldly, "We don't care about whether you live or die. Everything will depend on your own efforts. After you complete the mission, return to the training grounds. Crush the jade slip in your hand and I will come to pick you up. Good luck." Many thanks. Su Fang and Dao Wuliang turned around and flew away on their sword. As for the Celestial Sealing Sect's disciples, it seemed that they could meet cultivators who came to pay respects to them every day. Naturally, they turned around and entered the barrier. Chapter 130. Activating the Jade Scroll, a map appeared. It was a general map of the Gu King Valley. The 2 studied it for a while and immediately flew out on their flying sword. Although the Gu King Valley was in the Celestial Sealing Sect's territory, it was actually outside the sect's territory. This king has never heard of the Gu King Valley. It seems like it's a faction that was born in the Crimson Firmament continent 10,000 years later. This king may not know about the Gu King Valley, but he has seen a few powerful experts who raise Gu. The Gu they raise can cultivate on their own and take human form. They are very powerful. After flying for a while, they were about to reach the Gu King Valley. In order to be more confident in completing the mission, Su Fang asked Green Feather King for advice. Green Feather King did not know about the Gu King Valley, but Su Fang learned more about the Gu from him. Late at night, cold winds blew. A primitive mountain range appeared. Even in the middle of the night, there were some spiritual lights and fireflies flickering in the mountain range. This mountain range was the Gu King Valley's territory. Since it was related to the Celestial Sealing Sect, the Gu King Valley naturally had experts who were more powerful than any other faction in the southern border. Su Fang and Dao Wuliang were not in a hurry to enter the mountain range. Instead, they rested in a forest not far away, waiting for dawn to come out. After cultivating for a while, before dawn, Su Fang suddenly asked, "Old Fox, I'm curious. Why can't many experts detect the demonic aura in your body? I'm worried that you will be recognized after entering the Celestial Sealing Sect." Dao Wuliang said proudly, "Hee, my mother implanted a natal Dao talisman and a Dharma treasure in my body. As long as I don't use my full strength and actively release my demonic aura, no more than 10 people in the entire Celestial Sealing Sect can recognize me. However, after entering the Celestial Sealing Sect, I just want to find out the whereabouts of the Fox Clan's supreme treasure. If I'm not in the Celestial Sealing Sect, I won't stay in such a dangerous place. Maybe I can only accompany you for a while." Try to leave the celestial ceiling sect as soon as possible. Even Fox Mother and Rock King are afraid of the celestial ceiling sect. There must be a shocking place. Su Fong felt relieved. He was worried about Dao Wuliang's identity. But now, it seemed that Dao Jin Fox Mother had made preparations before he left the hidden forest. Su Fong was just about to leave with Dao Wuliang when, thanks to his great circle of hearing, he suddenly caught a glimpse of something. Dao Wuliang saw that Su Fong was listening attentively and also released his senses. He raised his eyebrows and said, "There's movement. It's coming out from the Gu King Valley. There are 4 people in total, and they sound like they are in a hurry. I wonder if they are the people we are looking for." Su Fong and Dao Wuliang nodded and disappeared into the bushes at the same time. After a few breaths, 4 figures flashed through the forest. After the 4 of them left, Su Fong and Dao Wuliang quietly followed behind them. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, the 4 of them entered a cave that seemed to have been prepared beforehand. The 2 of them hid in a dark spot 100 meters away from the cave and pricked up their ears. "My luck is really bad. I've been guarding for so many days, but I haven't caught a single Gu worm. Gu King Valley's Gu worms are all top quality. There are too many people who want them, and each one can be exchanged for a large amount of pure essence pills. I only caught a small old man." The voices came from inside the cave and gradually entered Su Fong's ears. Another person shouted eerily, "Old man, why don't you have a golden core? You are not in the vast core realm. This guy is very strange. He doesn't seem to be a cultivator. Could it be that we have been blind this time?" Another hoarse voice sounded. Another low voice shouted, "Take a break. Let's take care of this old man after we catch our breath. Even if he is not a cultivator, he must have Gu worms on him." Dao Wuliang transmitted his voice. "We met the targets we were looking for so quickly. There are 3 experts, and their cultivation levels are probably between the heavenly fusion realm and the immortality realm. After killing these 3, we just need to kill 2 more. We can't just make up the numbers. The corpses have to be confirmed by the people from the Gu King Valley. You and I have to deal with the immortality realm expert. We can only sneak attack and use our treasures when they have just settled down." Su Fong suddenly had an idea. It seemed like it was a good idea. Dao Wuliang was very happy after hearing it. He immediately rubbed his fists and approached the cave alone. Su Fong came to a forest surrounded by big trees. "Master!" Xian Wang's 6 Paths Pagoda flew out from Su Fong's right arm and hovered in the forest. After Su Fong nodded, the Xian Wang's 6 Paths Pagoda shook slightly. Then, it grew to 1,000 feet in size and became transparent in an instant. It seemed to have disappeared in the air. This was a shocking place for a king-grade treasure. After Su Fong formed a seal, this forest seemed to be under the control of the Xian Wang's 6 Paths Pagoda. Whoosh! This time, Su Fong did not hide his aura. He deliberately made some movements and flew towards the cave. Whoosh! When he was dozens of meters away from the cave, 2 figures suddenly flew out of the cave. Su Fong was so scared that he turned around and fled into the forest ahead. Vast Core Realm 7th level. His realm is low. It doesn't matter if he is from the Gu King Valley or someone like us who came here to look for Gu worms. We can't let him reveal our whereabouts. After the 2 black-clothed middle-aged men flew out of the cave, they were as fast as lightning. Their eyes were gloomy. One could tell that they were ruthless people. They grabbed their flying swords one by one, and their speed became faster and faster. They followed Su Fong into the forest 20 meters away. When they arrived at the forest, the man on the left had a fierce look in his eyes. "You think you can escape from under the nose of a longevity realm expert? Humph, I am a heavenly fusion realm expert. I can cut you into pieces." Xian Wang Pagoda Barrier. In the middle of the forest was the vast core realm Su Fong. Just as he was about to be hit in the neck by a flying sword, a pagoda shadow suddenly appeared in the forest. A huge pagoda. Suddenly, the two middle-aged men were sucked into it. Poochie! The pagoda shadow became 10 feet tall in the blink of an eye. The sound of blood breaking could be heard from inside. The door of the first floor opened. The flying Tiger King carried 2 corpses and jumped out of the pagoda. The corpses were the 2 experts from before. They were still arrogant a second ago and saw Su Fong as prey. But in the next second they became corpses. The flying Tiger King landed on the ground and offered the corpses to Su Fong. Then, he turned into Demon Chi and flashed into the mysterious yellow. Su Fong sucked the 2 corpses into his empty bag. Carrying the mysterious yellow, he hurriedly flew towards the cave, because he heard the sound of fighting outside. Swoosh! When he arrived in front of the forest, he saw that Dao Wuliang was being suppressed by a skinny old man who was controlling an immortal sword. Dao Wuliang could only defend himself. Su Fong immediately released the mysterious yellow and hid in the gap between 2 big trees. He transmitted his voice to Dao Wuliang. "Old fox, over here. Grandpa Dao won't fight with you. I'm leaving," Dao Wuliang deliberately shouted. Stepping on his flying sword, he flashed towards the forest where Su Fong was hiding. "I am a longevity realm expert. You're just a kid who hasn't even condensed a golden core. You're looking for death." The skinny old man's eyes were like lightning. He locked onto Dao Wuliang's flying speed and immediately rushed over. 5 terrifying Xian Guang appeared between his 5 fingers. Tut-tut! Dao Wuliang had just passed through the gap between 2 big trees when the old man also rushed over. In the end, his head was hit by the Xianwang 6 Paths pagoda that appeared. It was like a muffled thunder, but also like hitting a watermelon. With a bang, the old man shook violently and then fell to the ground. Grandpa Dao is not easy to bully. Dao Wuliang took advantage of the situation and kicked the old man's corpse into the sky. Su Fong grabbed in the air and sucked the corpse into his empty bag. The mysterious yellow was also sucked into his right arm. Summoning his flying sword, Su Fong came in front of Dao Wuliang. 3 corpses. 2 of them have longevity realm golden cores. We'll take 1 each. Let's go to the cave and save the old man first. Swoosh, swoosh. Just as the 2 were about to ride their flying swords, a red shadow flashed in front of them. A boundary palm print swiftly wrapped around the 2 like an illusory cloud rope. The red shadow condensed. It was an old man in his 70s with white beard and eyebrows. He was very short and very thin. At first glance, he looked like a young man. However, his white hair and light red Taoist robe made him exuded a sense of vicissitudes and mystery. Su Fong and Dao Wuliang were stunned at the same time. Although their cultivation was not amazing, they had their own abilities. The fact that the old man could subdue them in an instant could only mean that he was not an ordinary cultivator. He was a powerhouse among the powerhouses who had surpassed the longevity realm. When they saw the white-haired old man, the 2 were the same as the previous 3. They did not feel the slightest bit of energy. His skin, hair, and spirit did not seem like a powerhouse. Instead, he looked like an old man next door. The old man frowned and glanced at them. "You evil people killed each other. Now you've been wiped out by me. You want to attack my Gu King Valley? How dare you?" Su Fong suddenly understood and hurriedly explained, "Senior, you've misunderstood. We're not with them. We're just here to complete a mission." The old man asked coldly, "Mission?" "The 2 of us went to the Celestial Sealing Sect and wanted to join them to cultivate. However, we were asked to come to the Gu King Valley to carry out a mission. We had to help the Gu King Valley kill 5 evil people. Once we've completed the mission, we'll become temporary disciples of the Celestial Sealing Sect. Do you have a jade slip? Senior, please take a look." Su Fong took out a jade slip and handed it to the old man. The old man reached his hand into the barrier. The moment he grabbed the jade slip, his cold expression disappeared. He waved his hand and sucked the barrier into his palm. Then, he threw the jade slip to Su Fang. He did not look at it from beginning to end. Then you're on your own. Wait a moment. Why do you have the aura of goo worms on you? It seemed that Su Fang had some kind of power that suddenly attracted the old man's attention. Su Fang said truthfully, "My father gave it to me. Senior, you have a good eye. I admire you. There are indeed 3 goo worms in my body. They have helped me to absorb body toxins several times. Don't keep the goo worms in your body. They will eat away at your essence. The impurities expelled by the goo worms are a special kind of goo poison. They will slowly harden your meridians. In the end, you will end up like the old man. Your meridians will harden, and you will not be able to cultivate normally anymore." The old man turned around slowly. "Thank you, Senior." Su Fang broke out in cold sweat. He immediately sucked the goo worms out of his palm and put them into his empty bag. "Don't have any evil intentions. If you two don't behave, I'll kill you instantly." After leaving behind a frightening sentence, the old man used some kind of magic and disappeared. 1 man and 1 demon. Dao Wuliang shuddered. It was the first time he showed fear. "Didn't grandmother say that there are very few people who can see my true body? This person is not simple. Let's leave here first and rest for a few days. We'll talk after absorbing the golden core. The stronger we are, the more capable we are of completing the mission." Su Fang was also shocked. What kind of magic did the old man have? He was an ordinary person, but he was like a peerless expert. After a while, the two of them found a mountain valley. This longevity realm golden core is much stronger. After finding a good place to hide, Su Fang took out the golden core with the strongest aura and threw it to Dao Wuliang. Dao Wuliang was already drooling. This was not a heavenly fusion golden core. He didn't care about that kind of golden core. But a longevity realm golden core was different. Once a cultivator stepped into the longevity realm, they would no longer be troubled by life and death. They would have an astonishing lifespan. Living for 1,000 years was a piece of cake. Most could live for a few thousand years. Such a lifespan was naturally called longevity. Some longevity realm cultivators could live for more than 10,000 years. Chapter 131. Su Fang took out the second golden elixir of longevity and examined it. There were 4 divine patterns on it, and its aura was somewhat dark gold. This could only mean that the owner of this golden elixir had cultivated 4 types of ordinary divine abilities. He had no use for the longevity golden core at the moment, so he took out the 3rd heavenly harmony golden core. This was the golden core that was most useful for vast core realm cultivators. This golden core should have reached the high level of the heavenly fusion realm. Great, it's filled with golden core chi. Once I fuse with this golden core, my Dantian will most likely also possess an astonishing golden core chi. This way, the time and grasp of condensing a golden core will be correspondingly advanced. He sat down cross-legged and placed the golden core in the center of his palms. Buzz when Su Fang activated the 9-yang true chi in his body and made contact with the heavenly harmony stage golden core, the golden core began to rotate slightly, and the chi of the golden core slowly flowed into the palms of both sides. And in Su Fang's body, the power of a high-level heavenly union tier entered his meridians. It was like a surging long river, pushing the original energy in his meridians and rushing about with a rumble. This was Su Fang's first time refining a golden core. Back then, when he killed King Lang, he gave his golden core to his father. Previously, Qing Rulong's golden core was given to Xiao Mei'er. The power of the golden core flowed through his meridians into his Dantian and into his Dan embryo. At this moment, the blood-red Dan embryo began to absorb the power of the golden core. The Dan embryo also emitted a faint golden light. The Dan embryo rotated along with the golden core in his palms at the same speed and direction. Unknowingly, A lot of impurities gushed out from Su Fang's skin. He had not broken through yet and had only absorbed the heavenly alloy pill. He did not expect such a change to occur. This meridian that is currently condensing the yang meridian is also actively absorbing the aura of the golden core. I'm afraid that when I reach the heaven fusion realm, the first yang meridian will also be successfully cultivated. Many parts of his body were changing, and the changes were very obvious. At the same time, he also activated his Chaos Origin sacred realm and released some extremely cold chi, which immediately merged with the berserk energy around him, making it even more profound and vast. The magic treasure space in his right arm was also absorbing some aura of the golden core, which meant that the mysterious yellow was gradually fusing with the magic treasure spiritual vein and Su Fang's body. Pung! Half a month later, only half of the heavenly harmony golden core was left in his palms. Su Fang's body surged with the power of 10,000 galloping horses. At this moment, his appearance also changed into his original form. His energy burst out, filling all 8 levels. Vast core 8th layer. After absorbing half of the golden core's power, Su Fang had stepped into the 8th level of vast core realm from the 7th level, and his strength had more than doubled. The key was that the core embryo within his dantian had an astonishing aura of the golden core. Su Fang used the 100 acupoints finger art to control the power of advancement in his body. Time and time again, it surged through his entire body. Finally, it gathered together like a surging ocean and attacked his divine aperture. His divine aperture buzzed unceasingly, and the magic power inside it was like a whirlpool in an ocean. Compared to the time when he was in the Dharma Insight realm, his spiritual energy was 10,000 times stronger. Before, it couldn't even be considered a small stream, but now it was a vast river. After the fusion, taking advantage of this momentum, Su Fang began to absorb the remaining half of the Jindan's power. The Jindan embryo spun slightly again, and a certain aura of the Jindan was already present inside and outside the Jindan embryo. Breaking through to the heavenly fusion realm in this state, the success rate of condensing the Jindan was naturally astonishing. On the other side, Dao Wuliang's movements were much quieter. He was a big goblin who had condensed the Jindan. His strength was already beyond the heavenly fusion realm, and he had reached the immortality realm. Therefore, in the process of absorbing the Jindan, he didn't even release his demonic aura. However, it was obvious that Dao Wuliang cared a lot about this Jindan, and it should be of great help to him. Within a month, the two of them madly devoured the Jindan. Finally, they stopped and left the valley together. They didn't summon their flying swords, and instead, they flew through the forest at a low altitude and approached the valley of the Gu King. Soon, they came to a deep forest that was obviously filled with demonic aura, poisonous gas, and blood chi. This was the periphery of the valley of the Gu King. The two of them carefully used their sensing ability to search for their target. They didn't have the intention to enter the valley of the Gu King, as that place was too dangerous. After searching for a few days, they naturally found something. However, the person they found was too strong. Su Fang and Dao Wuliang decisively gave up and looked for the heavenly fusion realm and the immortality realm to attack. Tisk tisk, late at night, the two of them were resting. Suddenly, Dao Wuliang frowned, and a trace of demonic aura flashed in his eyes. Before Su Fang could say anything, there was a sudden roar from the direction of the valley of the Gu King behind them. Then, the forest shook as if there was an earthquake. There's a strong big goblin aura going berserk in the valley of the Gu King. It's possible that someone outside is snatching the Gu worms, Dao Wuliang signaled to Su Fang with his eyes. The two of them stepped on their flying swords and flew straight over. After a while, they passed a mountain peak and arrived at a valley protected by a primeval forest. There was a bloody monster in front of them. Its body was huge. Some of the powerhouses around it took out rune talismans. The rune talismans released Xian Guang, which turned into enchantments and entangled the monster. Su Fang said, "It seems that this monster is going berserk and wants to leave the Valley of the Gu King. This is the Valley of the Gu King's business. It has nothing to do with us." Just as they were about to leave, a command came from the valley. Someone broke into the medicinal pool and snatched the Gu worms. Just in time, Dao Wuliang and Su Fang kept their flying swords and slowly approached the valley. Whoosh whoosh, the closer they got to the valley, the more they saw how powerful the monster was. Some parts of the monster's body were even spewing out terrifying blood smoke. The blood smoke was truly terrifying. It could instantly corrode anything it touched. Even the enchantments set up by the 20-something experts from the Gu King's Valley were being corroded. During this process, half of them suddenly left to protect the medicinal pool. As a result, the monster became more and more unbridled. The remaining 10 or so people were unable to suppress the monster, and could only let it advance towards the mountain peak. The bloody aura filled the valley, as if it was the end of the blood world. Su Fang suddenly stopped. "Old fox, let's split up. You go find someone to attack, and I'll suppress this monster. It doesn't look simple. It can be my junior commander." Dao Wuliang didn't have any objections. He sped up and disappeared into the forest. Dao Wuliang flashed towards the monster. At this time, the monster was as big as a small mountain. The blood on its body wasn't from being injured, but from being left on its skin. The monster's blood had corrosive properties, and it could even corrode true qi and magic treasures. This is a big goblin that has condensed a gold core. It's even more powerful than Dao Wuliang. I've struck gold this time. After observing for a while, Su Fang went around the valley and came to the front of the monster. He hid for a while. The monster was getting closer and closer. There was only killing intent and hostility in its demonic eyes. It seemed that it had to escape from the Gu King's Valley today, no matter what. The monster was surrounded by immortal-level experts. With their cultivation base, they couldn't do anything to the monster. When it was about 100 feet away, the bloody poison also rolled towards Su Fang. Xian Wang. Whoosh. The Xian Wang Six Paths Pagoda was very excited. It immediately became a few feet tall. Before the monster appeared, the door of the first floor of the pagoda opened. With a buzzing sound, the Xian Wang Six Paths Pagoda covered the monster. While the monster was unconscious and had no ability to think and was not afraid of magic treasures, it sucked it into the pagoda. Su Fang grabbed Xian Wang and immediately flew out of the mountain peak. "Where's the blood fiend? There's a figure there. Oh no, the blood fiend has been caught by the evildoers." Chase. There were more than 10 immortal-level experts. Half of them chased after Su Fang while the rest went back to the valley. "Young man, I've already told you. How dare you be so presumptuous in the valley?" Just as Su Fang flew over the mountain peak and out of the Gu King's Valley, the night sky where he was suddenly distorted. Su Fang's vision turned black. He suddenly felt that he was being controlled by an extremely strong force. In front of him, the small old man who was in his 70s appeared. Seeing the old man, Su Fang bowed and explained, "I thought it was a monster that broke into the valley, so I suppressed it. This way, the Gu King's Valley would have less trouble. The monster belongs to the Gu King's Valley." The old man said with a straight face, "Of course it belongs to this place. It's a bloody creature that was used to refine the blood goo. It has been going berserk all this time. I didn't expect it to break free from the seal today." "I'll return it to you," Su Fang ordered Xian Wang. His right arm released the shape of a pagoda. The bloody monster turned into a bloody light and suddenly spurted out. "Come in." The old man waved his arm and easily kept the monster in his sleeve. "Grand Master, it's Grand Master." A few immortal-level experts chased after him. They were excited when they saw the old man. "This person is not an enemy. I just wanted to suppress the bloody creature." The old man ordered them not to attack Su Fang. They knelt down in front of the old man. "Grand Master, we have failed to protect the valley. We have caused so many disasters in the valley during this time." The old man said indifferently, "You guys go back first." "Oh right, there's a young lad who is not an enemy. Give him 2 people who broke into the valley and bring him here." They immediately flew towards the Gu King's valley. "Thank you for your help, Senior." Su Fang did not expect the old man to help them complete their mission. "Because this bloody creature is very important to the Gu King's valley. You stopped it in time, which is equivalent to helping the Gu King's valley." "How should I address you, Senior?" "Gu Immortal. People outside call me that." "Gu Immortal." Su Fang remembered this mysterious expert. After a while, Dao Wuliang followed a few experts from the Gu King's valley and flew into the forest. He was relieved when he saw Su Fang. Gu Immortal grabbed Su Fang's mission jade slip and left a spirit mark on it. He then handed it to Su Fang. "Cultivate well in the immortal sealing sect." Then, a blood Gu crawled out from his palm. The blood Gu had a shocking demonic aura. He threw it to Dao Wuliang. "This demon of yours is not simple. There is someone more powerful than me hiding your demonic aura. However, some people can still see your true body. This blood Gu emits demonic aura. In the future, they can only find this blood Gu in your body. You can also use it to balance out your demonic aura." "Thank you, Senior." Dao Wuliang did not expect to receive such a great gift. It was exactly what he needed. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, Gu Immortal disappeared. The 2 summoned their flying swords and flew towards the immortal sealing sect. They had already obtained 5 corpses and completed their mission. They also obtained 2 golden cores that reached the heavenly fusion realm. Su Fang's consciousness entered the Xianwang 6 Paths Pagoda. "Senior Pring King, did you see that Gu Immortal's cultivation base? That person was an expert, a very strange one. His golden core was gone, and he didn't have much spirit energy. However, he had shocking magic power. Green Feather King was worthy of being called an expert. He could sense many things just from Xianwang. And his body was filled with blood Gu. His entire body was filled with Gu worms. This..." Dao Wuliang suddenly shuddered. So he had been facing a monster. Could it be that because his golden core was gone, he wanted to use the blood Gu as a golden core to provide energy in his body? And there's also some demonic aura in his essence. Perhaps the blood Gu in his body are already very strong and are transforming into a demon. This is a monster. Green Feather King could not help sighing. The world is vast. This is also the first time this king has encountered such a monster. If he cultivates according to his cultivation method, once he succeeds, who knows how strong he will be? Who wouldn't be afraid of such a monster? Monster? Dao Wuliang and Green Feather King suddenly appeared inferior to Gu Immortal in Su Fang's eyes. Gu Immortal was a fusion of human and demon. It seemed this was a mission, but it was actually to make friends with such a strange expert. Chapter 132. Immortal Sealing Sect, Barrier. When Su Fang and Dao Wuliang arrived, they didn't activate the jade slip immediately. Instead, they pondered for a while. Su Fang thought of the name Fang Yu. From now on, he would be called Fang Yu in the Immortal Sealing Sect. Dao Wuliang decided to use this name. He felt that this name was tailor-made for him. Whoosh! They activated the jade slip. Soon, a surge of dermic power merged with the Immortal Sealing Sect's barrier. Then, a controlling force sucked them away. The 2 of them reappeared in front of the mountain. The 3 Immortal Sealing Sect disciples appeared. They were the 3 people who had given them the mission. Su Fang handed the jade slip to them. They activated it. They were originally very cold, but suddenly, they were startled. "Looks like you've gained quite a lot from the Gu King's Valley. The Gu King's Valley also recommended you to our sect." Dao Wuliang and Su Fang were also startled. Under the guidance of the three people, they handed over the 5 corpses. They entered another barrier, and their vision changed again. Behind the mountain in front of them was another mountain range, as well as a vast forest. There were also some floating mountains in the depth. The 5 of them landed in front of the huge mountain. When they arrived, they saw a large number of immortal sealing sect disciples. These disciples seemed to be temporary disciples. Their cultivation bases were at the vast core realm and heaven merge realm. Immortal Seeking Peak. This was the core of the immortal sealing sect's temporary training ground. It was like Tianmen Province's Hall of Fame. Standing in the middle of the square, Su Fang and Dao Wuliang felt insignificant. There were all kinds of spirit beasts flying around. In the distance there were floating mountains and forests. It looked like an illusion. Even the secluded forest paled in comparison to this place. They didn't know how big the Immortal Sealing Sect's training grounds were. It seemed that the Immortal Seeking Peak was just one of the many peaks here. There were many palaces at the peak of the mountain. The staircase leading from the plaza to the palaces at the peak was like a staircase to heaven. At the end of it was the Immortal Seeking Ground. The human ranking. When can I enter the human ranking? Forget it. It's hard for temporary disciples like us to become official disciples. But this time, a temporary disciple appeared on the mortal ranking. Zhao Wuji is a temporary disciple. Why have I never heard of him? The human ranking list is set up for immortal level disciples. Those who can get on the list are all geniuses who have reached the peak of the immortal level. Could it be that Zhao Wuji is already an immortal level disciple? How could he appear on the human ranking list so quickly? There are so many temporary disciples in the Immortal Seeking Peak. Who knows who Zhao Wuji is? However, to be able to enter the human list as a temporary disciple, he must be a genius disciple in the future. At this time, more than 10 temporary disciples walked down the stairs. They were talking about the ranking list of young masters, as if no one else was around. Su Fang and Dao Wuliang had no intention of listening, but they heard the name Zhao Wuji. It can't be the same person, right? Su Fang thought to himself. Strangely, he hoped that it was Zhao Wuji. If he could meet him at the temporary training hall, he would have a chance to make a move on him. I'm Li Mu, one of the stewards of the Immortal Seeking Peak, in charge of your temporary training ground. Su Fang and Dao Wuliang did not step on the stairs. Instead, they waited on the stairs, still thinking about the news they had heard before. After half an hour, the 3 disciples came down. The man introduced himself. His cultivation was also amazing. He was a master of the longevity realm. Li Mu took out 2 jade slips and merged Su Fang and Dao Wuliang on the spot. The jade slips immediately turned into a disciple token and tied it to his waist. There are many temporary disciples who join the Immortal Seeking Peak every year. There are about 1,000 of them. However, after a series of tests, most of them will be eliminated. Li Mu took the 2 of them and flew slowly away from the Immortal Seeking Peak on his flying sword. They flew toward a large forest not far away. Because you 2 have been recommended by the Gu King Valley, we have to give them face. You will cultivate in the Cloud Forest Valley in the future. One of the stewards of the Cloud Forest Valley, Qin Feng, is from the Gu King Valley. This surprised Su Fang and Dao Wuliang. It seemed that the treatment of those who had connections in the Immortal Sealing Sect was different. After half an hour, a large forest hidden under the clouds came into view. At this time, 2 figures flew out of the forest. They were 2 young men, both of whom were in their mid-20s. They were both masters of the longevity realm. On the left is Qin Feng from the Gu King Valley. On the right is Su Jinhua. They are the 2 people in charge of the Cloud Forest Valley. Li Mu gave a brief introduction and flew up first to chat with Qin Feng and Su Jinhua. After a while, Li Mu flew straight to the Immortal Seeking Peak. Su Jinhua looked at the 2 of them for a moment and returned to the forest below alone. Qin Feng called the 2 of them over and glanced at them coldly. I didn't expect that you two outsiders could be recommended by the Gu King Valley. Who recommended you? He was a little disdainful or suspicious. Su Fong clasped his fist. Senior Brother Qin, the elder who recommended us, said that he was the Gu immortal. Grand Master Qin Fong almost bit off his tongue. It seemed that he never expected that the person they recommended was the most powerful person in the Gu King Valley. I don't know what great-grandfather is thinking, Qin Fong murmured. No matter how hard he looked, he couldn't see anything unusual about Su Fong and Dao Wuliang. His expression was too obvious, which made Dao Wuliang very unhappy. He suppressed his anger. After a while, Qin Fong no longer made things difficult for the two of them. He took the two of them and flew under the clouds. When they came to the forest, they knew what the Cloud Forest Valley looked like. It turned out that the Cloud Forest Valley was also surrounded by a layer of enchantment. It looked like a forest from the outside, but when they entered the enchantment, they saw that the forest surrounded several valleys. It was quite spectacular. In the valleys there were caves and pavilions everywhere. In addition, there was abundant spiritual qi inside the immortal sealing sect. This was an excellent place for cultivation. As they flew to one of the valleys, Su Fong couldn't help but think, Senior Brother Qin, do you know that there is a disciple named Zhao Wuji in the temporary training hall? I didn't know before, but a few days ago, this person actually went to challenge a famous senior brother and defeated him. He forcefully squeezed into the ranking list of young masters as a temporary disciple. Now, there is no one in the Immortal Seeking Peak who doesn't know Zhao Wuji. Then where did he come from and cultivate? There are so many temporary training halls. I'm only the person in charge of the Cloud Forest Valley. There are only 100,000 temporary disciples. You should know that this Zhao Wuji isn't easy, Qin Fong replied coldly. After entering the valley, Qin Fong brought the two of them to two caves. Becoming a temporary disciple doesn't mean that you can rest easy here. Both of you are at the vast core realm, so your goal is to condense a gold core. If you can't condense a gold core within a certain time, you can only leave. No matter who tries to persuade you, it will be useless. During this time, you have to complete various tasks. If you fail, you will be eliminated. Qin Fong gave the two of them a jade slip. It recorded the rules of being a temporary disciple, as well as cultivation matters in the Cloud Forest Valley. After the two of them familiarized themselves with their respective caves, they fused their caves with their tokens and returned to their respective caves to learn about the temporary training hall. Su Fong took out a heavenly fusion gold core to cultivate. Currently, he had 3 gold cores which he had obtained from this mission. 2 of them were heavenly alloy pills. Master! Deep in the night, Xuanhuang suddenly interrupted Su Fong's cultivation. Just now, I sensed a trace of a spiritual treasure's aura. It really is in the depths of the immortal sealing sect. This isn't a temporary training hall. The third portion of the spirit vein. Su Fongdao was delighted. One of the reasons he had entered the immortal sealing sect was to take back the final portion of the spirit vein. But isn't it in Zhao Wuji's hands? Why isn't it in the temporary training hall? That portion of the spirit vein's aura is intermittent. It should be refined by someone. Perhaps that Zhao Wuji is in the depths of the immortal sealing sect. Brat, this king advises you not to be in too much of a rush. The immortal sealing sect has too many experts, and some of them are almost as strong as immortals. If you don't know the immensity of heaven and earth in the immortal sealing sect, you'll only end up dead. Otherwise, why would Hu Mu and this king be so afraid of the immortal sealing sect? Hearing that, Su Fong felt as if he had been hit in the head. Junior will be careful this time. Green Feather King said, fusing with a spiritual treasure's spirit vein isn't something that can be done overnight. Even peerless experts will have to go through a process, but you have to speed up your cultivation. There are too many experts in the immortal sealing sect. If you don't work hard, let alone obtaining the spirit vein. Even standing out among your peers will be a problem. There are many treasures in the immortal sealing sect, and you'll be able to obtain even more treasures in the future. Su Fang nodded and continued absorbing the golden core's energy. He also used the jade slip Qin Feng had left behind to understand the rules of the temporary training halls. Cloud Forest Valley was one of the dozens of temporary training halls. It had over 3,000 temporary disciples, but their names weren't recorded. That was because temporary disciples didn't count as disciples of the immortal sealing sect. Furthermore, the majority of the 3,000 disciples would be eliminated in the end. It was already not easy for 300 of them to become official disciples. According to the rules, if Su Fang could enter the Heavenly Union realm within 30 years and challenge the Puppet Tower at the Immortal Seeking Peak, he would become an official disciple. The Puppet Tower was not simple. There were many puppets inside, and they were all refined by experts. The wonder was that when cultivators of different realms entered, the Puppet Tower would reach a corresponding height. If a Heavenly Union realm cultivator entered, the Puppet Tower would explode with Heavenly Union realm power, using this to test the challenger. If a longevity expert entered, the Puppet Tower would release longevity power. Brat, the Puppet Tower is an enchanted item. Do you think it's a building or a tower? It's a magic treasure refined by the immortal sealing sect's experts. Green Feather King suddenly explained to Su Fang while he was meditating. The Puppet Tower was an enchanted item? It really surpassed Su Fang's imagination. What kind of enchanted item was this? Green Feather King continued, You can see enchanted items everywhere in the immortal sealing sect. Many Dao halls are supported by enchanted items that provide spirit energy and magic energy. The immortal sealing sect is a treasure trove. Generations of experts have left behind many good treasures. You have to take them all. What's the mortal ranking? With such a know-it-all inside his body, Su Fang suddenly realized that he would be able to do well in the immortal sealing sect. The immortal sealing sect has the heaven, earth, and mortal rankings. The mortal ranking is for longevity experts, the earth ranking is for undead experts, and the heaven ranking is for undead experts. The immortal ranking is for longevity experts, the earth ranking is for undead experts, and the heaven ranking is for undead experts. They're for geniuses of the immortal sealing sect. Only people with strength can enter the rankings. Each ranking has 10 spots. The immortal sealing sect set up the 3 rankings to motivate the sect's disciples. They cultivate their Dao hearts and stimulate their fighting spirit. Because of these 3 rankings, the immortal sealing sect can flourish. Generation after generation, powerful disciples will emerge. This is the reason why the immortal sealing sect can become the Crimson Firmament continent's #1 power. The immortal sealing sect really isn't simple. Su Fang was deeply shaken. Without strength, there was no way to gain a foothold in the immortal sealing sect. Zhao Wujihe was also suspicious of this temporary disciple on the mortal ranking, Zhao Wuji. Considering the time he had left the state of Zhao with the immortal sealing sect's disciples, he just so happened to be a temporary disciple. So this Zhao Wuji on the mortal ranking was most likely the one from the state of Zhao. It seemed that in the short time he had left the state of Zhao, he had already reached the longevity realm. This person had single-handedly slaughtered so many countries and established the state of Zhao. He was definitely an outstanding figure. Chapter 133. After being in the Cloud Forest Valley for half a month, Su Fang and Dao Wuliang were basically grounded. Their main focus was cultivation, especially the celestial sealing sect's origin energy that was separated from Green Feather King's body. Green Feather King had a tough life. He was sealed by the celestial sealing sect for 10,000 years. What did 10,000 years mean? A Dharma Insight cultivator could live for a few hundred years, a vast core cultivator could live for nearly 1,000 years, a heavenly fusion cultivator with a golden core could live for more than 1,000 years, A longevity realm cultivator could live for about 2,000 years, and even more powerful giants could only live for a few thousand years. A third-rate cultivation force was only established for 10,000 years. Green Feather King's lifespan was equivalent to several generations of human cultivators, which was comparable to an ordinary force. During this 10,000 years of imprisonment, Green Feather King didn't stay idle, especially when the Celestial Sealing Sect was constantly pouring various sealing powers into his body in order to suppress him. This caused Green Feather King's demonic chi to be stripped away and dispersed, and the origin energy of the Celestial Sealing Sect became stronger and stronger. Therefore, the origin energy of Green Feather King in the Celestial Sealing Sect was indescribable. It was enough for Su Fang to cultivate for a long time and grow in the Celestial Sealing Sect. Dao Wuliang couldn't absorb too much energy. After all, he was a demonic beast, and too much human energy would shackle his cultivation. Moreover, he was only here to search for the Fox clan's supreme treasure. Once he was no longer in the Celestial Sealing Sect, he would still have to leave. 1 month later. Suddenly, an angry voice came from the cave. Su Fang, who was sitting cross-legged in the cave, released a shocking blood-colored energy. There were a total of 9 levels. It turned out that he had stepped into the 9th level of the vast core realm from the 8th level. He broke through again in such a short time, and in just a few months, it seemed that the cultivation of the vast core realm was as easy as the Dharma Insight and Transcendent realms. No. In the past, Su Fang's cultivation energy mainly came from the Origin Saint realm and the Yang Qi bead that he obtained from burning demonic beasts. Now, he had the golden core that he obtained from cultivators, the Origin Saint realm, and the Celestial Sealing Sect's power in Green Feather King's body. Green Feather King releasing the power of the Celestial Sealing Sect was equivalent to cleansing Su Fang's marrow. One could imagine how fast Su Fang's breakthrough under such terrifying cultivation. He had just entered the Cloud Forest Valley, and he had already broken through to the 9th level of vast core realm within a month. This was enough to prove this point, and in the future, his speed of advancement would only increase. He still had 2 golden cores in his empty bag. One was at the Longevity realm, and the other was at the Heavenly Union realm. Su Fang could step into the Heavenly Union realm just by relying on these 2 golden cores, let alone whether he had the resources of the Celestial Sealing Sect to cultivate. Newcomers, Senior Brother Tai has given you enough preferential treatment. From today onwards, you'll be participating in various missions. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps came from outside the cave, followed by an arrogant shout. Su Fang and Dao Wuliang came out and saw 2 official disciples. The main people in charge of the Cloud Forest Valley were Qin Feng and Su Jinhua, but there were also other official disciples monitoring the Cloud Forest Valley. Since Zhang Xian was an official disciple, the 2 of them wouldn't offend him easily. Following the 2 of them, they left the mountainside and flew toward the center of the valley. Coming to the valley, there is a barrier standing in the center. Some temporary disciples entered and exited the enchantment from time to time. When they went in, they were full of energy, but when they came out, they were a little dirty. They didn't know what was inside the enchantment. Stepping into the barrier, he immediately heard clanging sounds of collisions, which made him dizzy. When he looked at the source of the sounds, it turned out to be hundreds of temporary disciples. Some were in 2s and 3s, and some were in groups of a dozen. They were surrounding a huge rock, and they were using their divine abilities to carve the big rock. Were temporary disciples supposed to carve? Become stonemasons? The official disciple introduced, these spirit stones come from mines. They are collected by the strong cultivators in the sect from many forbidden or dangerous places. There are diamond spirit stones, black flower stones, and so on. Because Senior Brother only collected whole stones, he didn't grind or cut them. The rest is left to us temporary disciples. Every day you have to hand in a certain amount of leftover stones, and the extra leftover stones are your rewards. You can keep them yourselves. These stones will first be ground, then cut and cut according to the size. You'll be in charge of grinding at the beginning. You'll need to use treasures to cut them. Come with me. Another official disciple continued. Waving his hand, he led the two of them to a large, grayish-white stone that was surrounded by more than 10 people. During this period of time, the two of them would be working with the temporary disciples to grind out the stone. Spirit stones and gems are all ready-made. I didn't expect that every spirit stone and gem would be cut by cultivators with so much effort. No wonder they're so rare and precious. Su Fang and Dao Wuliang looked at the temporary disciples. Most of them were using their swords, sword chi, and blade chi to grind the surface of the stone. Dang! They didn't know how hard the stone was. Su Fang sent out a sword chi and slashed it down. In the end, he only managed to cut off a few small particles. He didn't expect the stone to be so hard. Of course, although it wasn't Su Fang's full-strength attack, it could still kill any vast core realm cultivator. Let's rest. After a period of time, the dozen or so temporary disciples scattered to the side. Hey, newcomers, don't you know the rules? We'll rest. You can continue working. Su Fang and Dao Wuliang also turned around, but they were stopped by a few temporary disciples. You can rest, but we can't? Dao Wuliang didn't understand. Ha ha! That's the rule. Newcomers have been here for a few years, and they all have to work. Furthermore, they have to hand over all the scraps to us. These disciples were very arrogant, and they didn't care about anything. The surrounding disciples also stopped to watch the show. It seemed that new disciples who came here were all ridiculed and bullied. We'll also rest. Su Fang indifferently looked at the people in front of him. Disobedient, disobedient. When they heard that, they laughed even more unbridled. One of them called out to the people sitting next to him, Boss Gongsun, you can give the order. These two brats don't follow the rules. How will we have any face in the future? A horse-faced man stood up. The surrounding people all treated him as their leader. I am Gongsun Jian. Thank you for calling me boss. Of course, my Gongsun family still has a certain amount of power in the immortal sealing sect. You two shouldn't ask for trouble. Otherwise, if something happens, you'll be kicked out. Gongsun Jian, doesn't your family only have a few official disciples cultivating in the 7 heavenly caves? Aren't you afraid of bragging to death? Boss Lin. He hadn't expected another group of people to surround him. When Gongsun Jian saw the middle-aged man, he was very unhappy. Boss Lin intentionally put on an expression of admiration for Su Fang and Dao Wuliang. I'm Lin Wei. My Lin family has quite a few experts cultivating in the 7 heavenly caves. They're much stronger than the Gongsun family. If you follow me, you won't be bullied. In truth, how could Su Fang and Dao Wuliang not understand his intentions? They were still trying to swindle them. Even after they were swindled, they would still have to work for them for free. Gongsun Jian raged. Lin Wei, are you intentionally looking for trouble today? Are you trying to make enemies of me time and time again? Do you think I'm afraid of you? Lin Wei was being supported by dozens of people. You're right. There's no time like the present. Today, we'll decide who wins and who loses. The loser will have to lie down and bark like a dog. Of course, that depends on whether or not you'll have the life to bark like a dog after the fight. Alright, back off. Gongsun Jian's face turned red as he walked towards Lin Wei. Lin Wei also released his aura, and the surrounding people quickly backed off. These two were not in the vast core realm. They were both in the heaven merge realm and had condensed a golden core. Although cultivation in the Crimson Nimbus continent was very normal, condensing a golden core was still very difficult for normal cultivators. However, Lin Wei and Gongsun Jian were able to condense a golden core. This meant that their family had some foundation in the Crimson Nimbus continent. Papa. Both of them circulated their qi at the same time and used their divine abilities. Sword qi or sharp finger technique. A large amount of xian guang wrapped around the two of them. Regal sword qi. Gong Sun Jian suddenly waved his palms, and each palm emitted a dazzling sword qi that turned into a huge sword ball, trapping Lin Wei in the center. Heaven-shattering finger. The latter faced the incoming ball and suddenly suppressed the surrounding finger imprint. As it absorbed, it became even more domineering. Bang! This finger technique shot out a dazzling xian guang, which hit the sword ball and cut it open bit by bit. It seemed that Lin Wei was slightly stronger. As expected of the celestial sealing sect, even their temporary disciples have powerful divine abilities. Su Fang saw the two of them fighting. Although it was just a few moves, he could see their strength. They had the qualifications to be the boss. As the two of them fought more and more, Dao Wuliang laughed and said, "What, Gong Sun Jian and Lin Wei's awesome grandson? You two are putting on a show. We don't have time to play with you." Gong Sun Jian and Lin Wei were actually provoked by Dao Wuliang in front of so many subordinates. The two of them immediately ordered their subordinates, "What are you looking at? Hurry up and cripple these two trash." "I'll do it." More than 20 people angrily rushed over. Su Fang ordered Dao Wuliang not to attack. With his temperament, he might even kill them. If he released his demonic qi, then they would be finished. "You newbies' rules are useless against us." Huchi. Su Fang's flame cloud steps only used spirit fire as its source. It was impossible to see that it was an illusory fire cloud. In an instant, Su Fang was like a flame that pounced at them. Whoosh. Although the flame cloud steps was a footwork technique, it was also an offensive technique. Su Fang swept out his right leg from the flames. Su Fang was not ruthless. He only used his aura to annoy the temporary disciples. In the blink of an eye, more than 20 people fell at the same time. Su Fang was like a burning flame. After landing on the ground, there was nothing unusual. Ao ao. Not a single one of those who fell did not cry out in pain. Gong Sun Jian, this kid dares to attack. Lin Wei suddenly stopped. Gong Sun Jian also directed all his hostility towards Su Fang. Su Fang calmly faced the two local tyrants. "Rules have always been meaningless in front of me. Lin Wei, Gong Sun Jian, if you have the guts, then come at me together. I will let you know my rules. The two of us against you is overestimating you." Gong Sun Jian rushed out before Lin Wei. He immediately released a large amount of sword qi and sent a palm strike at Su Fang. "That newbie is new. He seems to be at the 9th level of Vast Core Realm. Gong Sun Jian is at the 4th level of Heaven Fusion Realm. He can easily trample that newbie to death." More temporary disciples came to watch the show, and they all felt that Su Fang would be killed by Lin Wei in one move. At the very least, he would be crippled. But an unexpected scene occurred. Just as the sword qi was about to fall, Su Fang's 5 fingers suddenly ignited with boundless flames, turning into a huge flaming hand. With a wave of his hand, he grabbed at the sword qi. Hua hua, the flaming hand tore a hole in the sword qi. Above, Gong Sun Jian was so frightened that he lost his balance. He wanted to dodge, but the flaming hand shook Su Fang's feet. It was as fast as lightning. With a bang, it grabbed Gong Sun Jian. "If you want to kill me, how can I let you go? Just treat this as a lesson to you." Scram! Su Fang disdainfully sneered. With a wave of his hand, he threw Gong Sun Jian away. Gong Sun Jian just happened to hit a large rock, and he fainted after landing. Chapter 134. He defeated Gong Sun Jian in one move. The hundreds of people in the formation were all shocked by Su Fang's power. A newcomer, who was only at the Vast Core Realm, was able to take care of the boss here with just one move. Who wouldn't be impressed by Su Fang? Su Fang acted as if nothing had happened. He and Dao Wuliang went to the large stone and began to grind it with their sword qi. The sword qi they condensed this time was several times stronger than before. Its power was also shocking. Every time the two slashed down, they could cut off a few finger-sized pieces of the stone. The onlookers gradually dispersed. "Let's see how long you can be arrogant." Lin Wei also left with his men. "These scraps are also equivalent to spirit stones. If I collect them and bring them back to the family, there'll be a huge amount." The outer layer of the stone didn't look as smooth and transparent as spirit stones, but it was still full of spirit qi. Su Fang collected every piece. When the sky was about to turn dark, the temporary disciples gradually dispersed. Su Fang and Dao Wuliang were also covered in dust. When they returned to their caves, they immediately began to cultivate. In the future, they would continue to grind spirit stones until they had cut out a certain amount of spirit stones. The next day, Su Fang and Dao Wuliang went to the barrier to report on time. But this time, when they came to the stone that was almost finished yesterday, they found a man standing there. They could only see his back, but his body was abnormally strong. Lin Wei and Gongsun Jian stood on the left and right of the strong man, standing obediently on both sides. At this time, the other temporary disciples were all watching the show. Dao Wuliang muttered, "Could it be that another one has come to pick a fight? Who cares? I'll beat whoever comes. This is just a temporary training ground, and they're all vast core realm and heavenly unity realm disciples. Unless I really meet a genius, no one is my match." Su Fang wasn't anxious at all, nor was he curious. Right now, he just wanted to cut the stone he had polished yesterday into spirit stones as soon as possible. Gongsun Jian seemed to be in a good mood, but when he saw Su Fang, he was so angry that his face turned pale. He politely bowed to the brawny man beside him. "Brother Lu, the two unruly bastards are here." His big eyes landed on Su Fang and Dao Wuliang. He said unhappily, "There have always been rules here. You two broke the rules as soon as you arrived. You've got guts. I'm Lu Han. Before I joined the Celestial Sealing Sect, I worked for a merchant guild. I specialize in killing people who don't have good eyesight. You two kneel down and admit your wrongs, and we'll let this matter rest." 6th level of Heaven Union Realm. Su Fang could see through Lu Han's cultivation. With one look, he could tell that this person had a fiery temper, which was why he could suppress Lin Wei and Gongsun Jian. Dao Wuliang was very unhappy. "Kneel to you? Who do you think you are? Aren't you annoying? I'm Dao Wuliang. I'll never change my name. If you want to find trouble with me, come out. I'll take care of you all today. You're too arrogant. I'll shatter your Dan embryo today as a warning to others." Lu Han immediately strode towards Dao Wuliang. He really had a fiery temper. He came as he pleased. Su Fang stopped Dao Wuliang. The other party was only at the 6th level of Heaven Union Realm. There was no need for Dao Wuliang to act. "It's that brat from yesterday again. He should be someone of a higher level." Yeah, someone of a higher level actually didn't get sent to a better training ground by the Immortal Seeking Peak. Instead, he came to our Cloud Forest Valley. After yesterday's incident, who here didn't remember Su Fang's prowess? This Lu Han seems to have been instigated by Lin Wei and Gongsun Jian. Su Fang faced Lu Han, who was about to attack. Instead, he wanted to teach Lin Wei and Gongsun Jian a lesson. They weren't a match for him, so he used Lu Han to deal with him. This kind of person was despicable. Lu Han suddenly released his aura. A large amount of spirit qi surged out of his body. He controlled the spirit qi with a punch. Tyrannical fist. "Big brother Lu Han, I'm a newcomer, but do newcomers have to be bullied? Do they deserve to be bullied?" Su Fang dodged. He felt the energy shatter his qi field. He then used flame cloud steps to dodge Lu Han's continuous attack. Lu Han said, "You broke the rules. How will the temporary disciples be united in the future? Now that we're all in the same camp, we can get benefits from missions every day." You broke the rules the moment you came. How will those brothers with lower cultivation get benefits and complete missions? As expected, I was tricked by Lin Wei and Gongsun Jian. The two of them are the real landlords here. Now they're pushing the bucket of sh*t onto my head. He could tell that this Lu Han wasn't a bad person. He was bad because he didn't have his own opinions. He was strong but brainless. He was easy to be used by despicable people. Big Brother Lu, did Lin Wei and Gongsun Jian tell you all this? Why don't you ask the others and see how they bully newcomers and take benefits from everyone? Su Fong dodged, trying his best not to fight with Lu Han. Lu Han wouldn't listen. Even if he did consider this matter, he had no choice now. Dragon Snake Roll. Facing Lu Han's divine fist that could kill a heavenly fusion realm expert with one punch, Su Fong used the first spell he mastered, Dragon Snake Roll. In fact, it was already a divine ability. Whoosh whoosh, several dragon snake-like storms attacked Lu Han like multiple illusion cloud rope. Su Fong took the opportunity to use flame cloud steps to suppress Lu Han's aura. Pa every step shattered Lu Han's aura layer by layer. Su Fong's combat strength became fiercer and fiercer. Furthermore, he didn't use his full strength because he didn't want to be enemies with Lu Han. The dragon snake roll cleverly wrapped around Lu Han. Lu Han didn't seem to be very proficient in divine abilities. His ability was a combination of outer Dao and inner Dao. He combined his innate divine strength and outer Dao to form a simple and practical outer Dao fist technique. Boom! Another kick landed on Lu Han, who was wrapped up by the dragon snake roll. Su Fong took the opportunity to use the 100 acupoints finger technique to seal all of Lu Han's blood vessels. Lu Han had become a prisoner, but he was still not Su Fong's match. However, he wasn't as miserable as Gongsun Jian. Su Fong wanted to find the two of them, but he found that Lin Wei and Gongsun Jian had disappeared. The most miserable one was Lu Han. Previously, he had been surrounded by many people, but now that he had fallen, not a single person went up to greet him. Lu Han also saw something and was very angry. Su Fong unsealed his acupoints and said, "Brother Lu, you've been tricked by Lin Wei and Gongsun Jian. They want to borrow your hand to get rid of me. If you succeed, they'll surround you and make you happy. If you can't repay them, you'll be useless to them. These two bastards didn't beg me like this last night. I was busy going to the puppet tower, but I was tricked by these two bastards. I'll definitely twist their heads off and use them as balls." Lu Han finally understood and immediately flew into a rage. Su Fong hurriedly stopped him. "You'll be at a disadvantage if you go." But Lu Han was a bull. How could he stop him? Su Fong and Dao Wuliang could only start cutting the spirit stones. With their strength, they were able to cut several thousand spirit stones in just one day. Who wouldn't be envious of them? Of course, the two of them were also generous. Each of them shared a few spirit stones. Even Lin Wei and Gongsun Jian's subordinates were now on Su Fong's side. If it were them, would they be able to take out so many spirit stones and share them? Why are there so few people today? The next day, Su Fong and Dao Wuliang came to the barrier. However, they found that there were only about 100 people. Someone whispered, "Don't tell anyone that I told you." Lu Han was tricked by Lin Wei and Gongsun Jian last night and was seriously injured. Those people changed their minds and went to join Lin Wei. Lu Han was seriously injured. He was indeed at a disadvantage. Although he was strong, he wasn't smart. If he went to find trouble with Lin Wei and Gongsun Jian, he would definitely be at a disadvantage. Su Fong and Dao Wuliang found out about Lu Han's cave residence and left the barrier. The two of them landed in front of a cave residence. When they arrived at the barrier, they immediately shouted, "Big Brother Lu, are you okay?" Buzz. The barrier disappeared. Lu Han was sitting cross-legged in the middle. His clothes were covered in blood. He didn't even have the strength to speak. He signaled for the two of them to come in. When they saw Lu Han, they saw that he was seriously injured. His face was also very swollen. It seemed that Lin Wei and Gong Sun Jian wanted Lu Han's face. Slap. Lu Han was in pain and anger. Su Fang used the 100 acupoints finger art to help Lu Han circulate his qi and break through his physical body. He also gave him a few pure essence pills. Pure essence pills were also a luxury for people like Lu Han. I'm better. Lu Han stood up gratefully. Dao Wuliang, you go to Lin Wei's cave residence. I'll go find Gong Sun Jian and give them a way out. They just had to go against us. Why don't they take a look at how many eyes Lord Ma has? Su Fang let Lu Han go with him. Dao Wuliang went to find Lin Wei. As for Su Fang, he quickly arrived at Gong Sun Jian's cave residence under Lu Han's lead. They had come to seek revenge. Haha, Lu Han, you trash, you still dare to come. Gong Sun Jian heard the commotion and the barrier disappeared. He brought quite a few people out of the cave residence. Bang! Bang! But Su Fang suddenly used the flame cloud step. Just his aura and footwork were enough to send the other disciples flying. As for Gong Sun Jian, he had never seen such a powerful Su Fang. He was so scared that he didn't have any reaction. He was once again grabbed by Su Fang and flew back to the mountain valley with Lu Han. Barrier, everyone, look! Fang Yu is back. He even subdued Gong Sun Jian. A few figures flashed into the formation. The people who were polishing the stones all stopped. They watched as Su Fang picked up Gong Sun's sword and threw him to the ground in front of everyone. Master Daoist is here. Another figure arrived. It was Dao Wuliang, who flew into the formation. He was also carrying Lin Wei. I am Fang Yu. I've only been in the immortal sealing sect for a while. Su Fang stood up and looked at everyone. You have your rules, and I have mine. If people don't offend me, I won't offend them. If people offend me, I will definitely punish them. Today, I will take away Lin Wei and Gong Sun Jian's golden cores and cripple them. In the future, there will be no such thing as rules here. Su Fang was like an eagle hunting its prey. He pounced on the two motionless people on the ground. My Lin family's people won't let you off. Pa. But Su Fang didn't have any expression. He decisively slapped their lower abdomens and sucked out their golden cores. He then sucked them back into his palm. Also, Fang Yu doesn't have any rules, but Master Daoist does. In the future, Master Daoist will have the final say here. Everyone will complete missions together and get benefits together. That is Master Daoist's rule. Dao Wuliang was in a good mood. He didn't even look at Lin Wei and Gong Sun Jian. At this time, within the barrier, no one dared to treat Su Fang and Dao Wuliang as newbies. Were they really newbies? In just a month, they had crippled Lin Wei and Gong Sun Jian, whom they were afraid of. With such skills, they were just like official disciples. Big Brother Lu, come sit at my place. Soon, it was evening. Dao Wuliang had divided the spoils of the day equally among everyone. Everyone had returned from a rewarding journey. Su Fang and Lu Han flew out of the barrier and invited Lu Han to his immortal cave as a guest. Lu Han was a straightforward person, and with Su Fang's help today, he immediately agreed. Chapter 135. Inside the cave. Su Fang and Lu Han were drinking wine amidst the spiritual energy. Recently, Su Fang had gained a lot. During the mission, he killed a few experts and obtained a golden core and various treasures. A while ago, he also obtained Qing Rulong's treasures. Among them, there were various immortal brews and nectar. These were treasures that only immortality realm experts could taste. Because of the wine, Lu Han's injuries began to recover. Suddenly, he punched out. Brother Fang, you've hidden your strength well. I, Lu Han, have never submitted to others, but I have to submit to you. You're ruthless and merciless. You crippled people like Lin Wei and Gong Sun Jian just like that. What are those hedonistic disciples? They only know how to rely on their families, but they forget that the path of cultivation relies on strength and ferocity, advancing bravely. However, Big Brother Lou, I have something to remind you of. Don't blame me for being talkative. Big Brother, your temperament is right for you, so don't be stuffy. Sometimes you have to know that when you meet a tough opponent, you have to know when to advance and when to retreat. Perhaps because Lu Han's temperament was very similar, Su Fong added a few more words. Actually, I also know this personality flaw, but sometimes I can't hold back my anger. I don't know why I'm so muddle-headed that I forget everything. Lu Han was not angry. Instead, he knocked his head. In fact, Su Fong also knew his personality very well. This kind of person was like a sharp sword. If used well, it could cut through thorns and thorns. If used by others, it would be broken in the end. Someone needed to be by Lu Han's side to give advice. Otherwise, with his temperament, he would be even more explosive than Dao Wuliang. Dao Wuliang was awesome. He knew when to advance and retreat. When faced with someone stronger than him, he knew how to shrink his neck. It was fine even if he was a tortoise. However, when faced with someone weaker, he would not be polite. Perhaps this was the demon's demon nature. Personality, this was Lu Han's biggest flaw. Lu Han simply treated this place as his own cave. He was not polite. I recognize you as my brother. Then, as your big brother, I have to remind you. This time, you crippled Lin Wei and Gongsun Jian. The families behind them will not let you go. These two families have many official disciples cultivating in the 7 grotto heavens. I'm worried about that as well. The 7 grotto heavens are the training grounds for the official disciples. Since he had beaten a dog, he had to guard against a mad dog seeking revenge. That's right. The 7 great heavens are the real Taoist temples. They're blessed lands. They're located in the depths of the House of Immortal Ceiling, and although I've never seen them myself, I've heard people talk about how incredible they are. They have spirit stones everywhere. Most of the spirit stones we cut out are used by the 7 great heavens to build up the foundation of the Taoist temples. Otherwise, how could the official disciples have so much spiritual energy to absorb? For now, you don't have to worry about the Gongsun clan and the Lin clan. According to the sect's rules, the temporary dojos and the 7 grotto heavens are managed separately. Normally, the official disciples won't come to the temporary dojos and cause trouble for the temporary disciples. However, once you enter the 7 grotto heavens, they won't let you off easily. Anyway, I have to go back and cultivate. In a few days, I'll go to the Immortal Seeking Peak and challenge that puppet tower. Lu Han sat up shakily. This time, he really wasn't polite at all. He drank a big meal at Su Fong's place. Su Fong sent him out of the cave and shook his head helplessly. He didn't know how far Lu Han could go. Being a person in this world was just like cultivating. You had to be observant everywhere. You couldn't just blindly be tough and fierce. The flaming cloud spirit gourd is a good treasure. Sitting cross-legged in the air of the cave, Su Fong was absorbing the yang qi of the golden core and the origin sage realm. He was looking at the treasure floating in his dantian. It was the flaming cloud spirit gourd that he had taken from Qing Rulong. Fortunately, Qing Rulong hadn't started cultivating yet. After asking Green Feather King for advice, Su Fong officially released the illusory fire cloud. He moved the spirit fire in his right arm into the flaming cloud spirit gourd. It became a flame seed and gradually became the origin of the gourd's world. In the future, the flaming cloud spirit gourd would be a fire-type magic treasure. With a fire-type magic treasure, he could burn enemies to death. He could also refine pills, magic treasures, and gold and silver. The benefits were endless. Using the illusory fire cloud, the spirit fire inside the gourd began to burn slowly. At the same time, all the items inside were transferred into the Xian Wang 6 Paths Pagoda. At the same time, he was also concerned about the cultivation of Crane Fairy, Bai Ling. Her cultivation was very fast. With the help of Green Feather King, she was growing all the time. She was always by Green Feather King's side. To be able to get guidance from this peerless big goblin, Bai Ling was too lazy to pay attention to Su Fong. It was just that there was only one small commander on the first floor of the pagoda, Flying Tiger King. He had to find more monsters that had condensed golden core or were in the process of condensing golden core to become small commanders. As Su Fong cultivated, mysterious yellow absorbed the spiritual qi of heaven and earth. In addition, Green Feather King refined the gold and silver qi inside. Xian Wang's Six Paths Pagoda was also gradually recovering to a perfect state. The Flaming Cloud Spirit Gourd relied on Su Fong to cultivate at all times. As for Xian Wang's Six Paths Pagoda, it had a primordial spirit. With Green Feather King, it could constantly recover on its own. Green Feather King suddenly said, "Kid, if you weren't worried about others discovering this king's aura, this king could directly help you cleanse your marrow and enlighten you. What's the big deal about reaching heavenly fusion?" This junior has deeply experienced the benefits of enlightenment. Thinking back to the time when he had used King Yu's enlightenment to advance in Zhao, he sighed in his heart. Marrow cleansing and enlightenment was something that could only be chanced upon. It was a great fortune to have it. Cultivation still had to rely on oneself to persevere step by step. He was also grateful to Green Feather King. Although it was more or less forced, it truly wanted to help him become stronger. In the future, they could deal with the Immortal Sealing Sect together. This king almost forgot to tell you something. Your Flaming Cloud Spirit Gourd is also in the hands of the Immortal Sealing Sect's genius disciples or expert. They also have it. Of course, the Immortal Sealing Sect often goes to the Heavenly Gourd domain to search for gourd. They then refine them into magic treasures for their experts and geniuses to use. Their power is astonishing. If you use the Flaming Cloud Spirit Gourd in the Immortal Sealing Sect, an expert with good eyesight will be able to recognize it at a glance. At that time, wouldn't they kill you and take your gourd? Senior's reminder is extremely correct. Su Fong felt a chill on his back. His heart also thumped a few times. You can extract this king's Immortal Sealing Sect's core and use it to cultivate the Flaming Cloud Spirit Gourd. It'll be twice the result with half the effort. Most likely, by the time you break through to Heavenly Fusion, the gourd will already have some core spirit flame. Your luck is pretty good. Your first fusion is a spirit flame, and not a heavenly flame or a true flame. Why? Heavenly flames and true flames are both types of flame. But spirit flames are born of heaven and earth, and are the purest flame. That's why spirit flames can fuse with heavenly flames and true flames. In the future, you'll be able to cultivate many true flames or heavenly flames. Adding on your Xian Wang Six Paths Pagoda, it won't be a problem for you to control a king-grade enchanted item. That ancient mirror in your body is even more inconceivable. I wonder what kind of Dao item it is. Perhaps it's a divine item. I really wonder who you were in your previous life to be so favored by karmic luck. King Greenfeather suddenly sighed. You'll also encounter other geniuses in the Immortal Sealing Sect. Cultivate well. Once you enter the 7 heavenly grottos, you'll be able to come into contact with the heaven ranking. Then you'll know just how sharp a true genius is. King Greenfeather's words were like a fishbone stuck in Su Fong's throat. Only by bitterly cultivating would he have the qualifications to establish himself in the Immortal Sealing Sect. Back then, the Zhao Empire was just a tiny place. With King Greenfeather's help, cultivating the Flame Cloud Spirit Gourd wasn't a problem. At the same time, Su Fong could constantly absorb its core. Immortal Seeking Peak, one of the 2 people in charge of the Cloud Forest Valley, Su Jinhua, had just arrived. He saw Lin Wei appear beside a youth. The youth wore yellow robes and had a golden sword hairpin in his hair. "Brother Su, we haven't seen each other in a while. It seems you made a good choice to come to this temporary training ground. Not only will you be able to get some benefits here, but once you complete your mission, you'll be able to return to your heavenly grottos and be rewarded. The competition in the heavenly grottos is too fierce. Furthermore, I, Su Jinhua, cultivate talisman drawing. That's the grand Tao I pursue. Brother Dongying, you didn't come here just to catch up with me, right? Su Jinhua glanced at Lin Wei. Brother Su, since we're cultivating in the same heavenly grottos, I won't stand on courtesy. Lin Wei is now a cripple. I just want the person who caused this to be punished. The youth from the Lin family took out an empty pouch. Su Jinhua hesitated for a moment before accepting the empty pouch. One was a temporary disciple, while the other was an official disciple of the heavenly grottos. Su Jinhua had to weigh the pros and cons. If he didn't accept the empty pouch now, he would have another enemy when he returned to his heavenly grottos. Su Jinhua said, I'm focused on cultivating talisman runes. I don't want to cause trouble. I'll do my best. Also, I heard that the temporary disciple Fang Yu was recommended by the Gu King Valley. Your Lin family and the Gu King Valley? Gu King Valley? No wonder a temporary disciple dares to be so arrogant. I, Lin Dongying, admit that the Lin family and the Gu King Valley aren't on the same level. The Gu King Valley provides the sect with Gu worms all year round, so they have a high status in the celestial sealing sect. But it's just a temporary disciple. I believe Brother Su has a way to deal with this. If Brother Su helps my Lin family solve this problem, I'll also give you some talisman mantras. The youth really wanted to get rid of Su Fang in order to avenge Lin Wei. Alright. Su Jinhua turned and left. You trash, you don't know that Fang Yu is related to the Gu King Valley. I'll send you back to your family. Serves you right. Lin Dongying grabbed Lin Wei and left the immortal seeking peak on his flying sword. Thank you, Senior Brother Dao. A few days later, inside the barrier, another meteorite was cut into tens of thousands of spirit stones, and they were all mid-grade spirit stones. Everyone saw that the spirit stones were cut open and waited for Dao Wuliang. Dao Wuliang divided the leftover materials and some of the spirit stones of different sizes and shapes in front of everyone. He made sure that everyone would get a share. It was almost an equal distribution. Stop. Suddenly, a few official disciples flew over. The leader was Su Jinhua. Su Jinhua landed and looked at Dao Wuliang sternly. How can you embezzle the sect's resources like this? Didn't we agree that the leftover materials are ours? Dao Wuliang was very righteous. Su Jinhua didn't expect Dao Wuliang to be so righteous. According to the sect's rules, any disciple who embezzles resources must be chased down the mountain immediately. As the manager of the Cloud Forest Valley, I have to carry out the sect's rules today. Dao Wuliang, get out of the mountain. Senior brother, please forgive junior brother Dao this time. We're willing to hand it over. When the others heard that Dao Wuliang was going to be chased down the mountain, they surrounded him and begged for mercy. Su Fang also asked Dao Wuliang to confront Su Jinhua directly at this time. After all, they were the ones who embezzled the resources and were caught red-handed. Su Jinhua didn't expect so many people to plead for mercy for Dao Wuliang. After thinking for a while, he could only reprimand them. Then, he brought Su Fang and Dao Wuliang out of the formation. There were more than 10 temporary disciples waiting outside. Su Jinhua and the others stood in a row and said, There are some cracks in the barrier under our dojo. We need to confirm it accurately. This mission will be handled by you all. If you do well, you don't need to grind spirit stones anymore. You can focus on cultivating. Chapter 136. Whenever you find a crack, seal this talisman on top of it. Allow the formation experts in the sect to go down and fix it. Su Jinhua took out many talismans and gave each of them a few. He then led them to the edge of the Cloud Forest Valley's enchantment. After he formed a seal, the enchantment sucked them in. It was as if they were in the middle of a valley. With your level of cultivation, you can totally control your divine abilities and fly under the enchantment. The enchantment will be able to sense your tokens and provide you with energy. Su Jinhua sent them into the enchantment and took a few steps back. He watched as the temporary disciples controlled their abilities and flew towards the depths of the enchantment. Enchantment. This was also the first time the temporary disciples flew within the enchantment at such a close distance. The enchantment of the Cloud Forest Valley's enchantment was as thin as a layer of qi. However, the interior of the enchantment was indeed a sealed world. 10 feet above the ground, there was a layer of spirit stone wall under the enchantment. It was a layer of spirit stone made up of a large amount of lower and middle grade spirit stones. It was perfectly combined with the enchantment. These spirit stones were the source of spirit qi in the Cloud Forest Valley. Many spirit pattern chains appeared in the enchantment. The spirit pattern chains were drawn by a formation expert and fused with the spirit stones. Every spirit pattern chain was like a tentacle, grabbing deep into the ground of the Cloud Forest Valley. The spirit pattern chains were filled with spirit qi. It seemed like the enchantment was made up of spirit stone wall, spirit pattern chains, and enchantment handprints. The group arrived at the 100-foot-deep enchantment space and gradually dispersed. Su Fang and Dao Wuliang also separated. They each looked for cracks in the spirit stone wall or the spirit pattern chains. The Cloud Forest Valley was very vast and was covered by the enchantment. It would take a long time for a vast Dan realm or heavenly fusion realm expert to search. The space of the formation was not dark, because the profound light released by the spirit stones and the various hand seals had wove the space of the formation into a sparkling world of profound light. It was Su Fang's first time seeing the source of an enchantment. He knew how it was activated and built. With his understanding of enchantment, he was very confident. As long as he stepped into the heavenly fusion realm, he could also create an enchantment with a certain space and power. I finally found a crack. Flying slowly in the air, Su Fang searched in the spiritual stone layer along the spiritual chains for a long time. Finally, he saw a crack that was almost 3 meters long at the intersection of a spiritual chain and the spiritual stone barrier. The crack was almost as wide as a finger. One could clearly see that because of this crack, the spirit qi within the array formation was being sucked out of the array formation like a whirlpool. It was equivalent to the array formation of Cloud Spirit Valley disappearing bit by bit. As Su Fang approached the crack, he sighed in his heart. If a temporary dojo in the Cloud Forest Valley already has such an extraordinary formation, wouldn't the formation of the entire dojo in the Celestial Sealing Sect be like an entire world? When he arrived before the crack, he took out a talisman and slowly sealed the crack. Buzz. Just as the talisman got close to the crack, it suddenly shook in Su Fang's hand. Before he could understand why, the crack in front of him suddenly exploded violently. The impact and the crack breaking, combined with the explosion of the enchantment, turned into a pile of ruins. Spirit stone's particles, together with the aura, caused Su Fang to be the first to be engulfed. This shattering sound was earth-shattering. Cloud Forest Valley seemed to shake along with it. Poor Su Fang was covered in blood when the fragments of the enchantment appeared. It was unknown how many wounds there were. Furthermore, his body was penetrated. Pain. Everything happened so suddenly that Su Fang lost all feeling. However, he could feel that his heartbeat and breathing were not normal. Even his meridians seemed to have been broken. Fortunately, his elixir embryo was fine. Furthermore, a shocking amount of yang qi was transmitted. Together with his physical body at the Great Circle, he gradually felt that his entire body was dripping blood. Hoo-hoo! In just a few breaths, Su Fang floated powerlessly in the enchantment space along with the fragments. In front of him was an enchantment black hole that was dozens of feet wide. More than 10 figures appeared. They were Qin Feng, Su Jinhua, and the other official disciples. especially Qin Feng. When he saw Su Fang, he immediately released a Xian Guang to wrap him up. At this time, Dao Wuliang also flew over. The other temporary disciples also appeared because of the explosion. Su Jinhua waved his arm. Let's leave this place first. Under Qin Feng's control, Su Fang flew out of the enchantment space with everyone. Cloud Forest Valley, in front of the enchantment, what happened? Why does it feel like the enchantment is about to collapse? Thousands of temporary disciples gathered in front of the enchantment. When Qin Feng, Su Jinhua, and the others appeared, they realized that there was a problem with the enchantment below. Su Fang, who was lying in the Xian Guang, saw all kinds of eyes looking at him. He immediately controlled his physical body and gathered yang qi into his flesh, blood, and meridians. Green Feather King said in his mind, "Kid, it's fortunate that your physical body has reached the Great Circle. If it were an ordinary cultivator, they might have been torn apart on the spot. However, quite a few of your meridians have been broken. It'll be difficult to repair them. I'll take care of him. Fellow apprentices, immediately notify Immortal Seeking Peak to send formation experts to repair the enchantment." Qin Feng had Su Jinhua take care of everything else. He brought Su Fang and Dao Wuliang to Su Fang's immortal cave. He immediately took out a pure yuan pill and examined Su Fang's body. Half an incense stick's worth of time later, Qin Feng shook his head. His life isn't in danger, but quite a few of his meridians have been broken. It'll be difficult to repair them. With such heavy injuries, it'll take at least a few years for him to recover. Dao Wuliang was sweating profusely. He knew Su Fang's ability, so he was able to remain calm. He stared at Su Fang and asked, "What happened?" "I'm not sure. When I brought the talisman close to the crack, it exploded. I didn't even have time to react." Su Fang's condition gradually improved. Although his voice was hoarse, he could still hear it clearly. When a formation breaks, it's usually several meters deep. That's when it loses its balance under the pressure of gravity. This is strange. I heard you crippled Lin Wei and Gong Sun Jian's cultivation bases. It's normal for you to end up like this. However, Qin Feng seemed to have seen through some clues. There are all kinds of people in the immortal sealing sect. There are scoundrels, tyrannical people, and honest people. Most importantly, there are quite a few families cultivating here. If you offend those families, they'll definitely do their best to deal with you. Senior apprentice brother, you're saying it wasn't a coincidence? Su Fang shivered. There's no free lunch in this world, and you won't be the only one to suffer. There must be some karma involved. Don't think about it. With your status as a temporary disciple, even if you knew, what could you do to an official disciple? I'll send someone to Gu King's Valley to bring some gu worms that can repair meridians. They can help you repair your meridians within 2 years. Just focus on recuperating. Even if there are still people who want to deal with you, they won't dare barge into your immortal cave. Although his attitude was cold, Qin Feng still wanted to help Su Fang. That meant he was someone who was cold on the outside but warm on the inside. I'll be standing guard outside your immortal cave during this time. Fuck, I really want to kill someone right now. Dao Wuliang had accompanied Su Fang for a while when he heard some noise outside. He angrily left. Su Fang had been lying there for a few days. His 9 yang true qi had stimulated his life energy at an astonishing rate, causing his injuries to improve with each passing day. When he was able to sit up, most of the holes in his body had blood threads growing out of them. Those blood threads connected, causing his wounds to heal faster and faster. I appreciate Qin Feng's kindness, but relying on others isn't my habit. Once my physical injuries are mostly healed, I'll use the 100 acupoint finger art. Combined with the 3 gu worms in my body, I'll be able to repair my meridians. Furthermore, I can control my flesh and blood. Even if quite a few of my meridians are broken, I can still circulate my qi. After consuming dozens of pure spirit pills and using his 9 yang true qi, Su Fang's condition improved. Half a month later, most of his injuries had healed. This king was also careless this time. He was wholeheartedly focused on cultivating and didn't sense any other expert. This king also didn't pay much attention to you. I didn't expect you to encounter a life-threatening danger in an ordinary formation. Greenfeather King naturally knew about Su Fang's recovery. Su Fang was also extremely bewildered. It's precisely because this is a formation space that I can't understand why I would encounter such danger. This king and Yuan Ling carefully analyzed this matter and finally understood. You fell for the vicious scheme of that official disciple Su Jinhua. Su Jinhua. There's a problem with those runes he gave you. As soon as they got close to the formation cracks, they caused them to explode, killing you. As for what exactly is wrong with those runes, I don't know. But in any case, he set a trap for you. I have no enmity with him in the past. You have to think about other things. Who did you offend? Lin Wei, Gongsun Jian. I understand Qin Feng's words. It seems Su Jinhua wants to harm me because of the Lin family and the Gongsun family. The Immortal Sealing sect really is filled with killing intent. Anyone can become an enemy in the next second. Greenfeather King was still the most formidable. He had to admire him. Nothing could escape his eyes. Now he had another enemy. Su Jinhua. This person was the person in charge of Cloud Forest Valley, an official disciple. Fortunately, he could only play tricks in the dark. He could only be on guard against him for now. Immortal Seeking Peak Brother Su, I already know about what happened in the Cloud Forest Valley. Thank you very much. That Fang Yu is still alive is indeed his good fortune. Here are the pure Yuan pills and the mental cultivation method for a rune talisman. Lin Dongying and Su Jinhua met in the forest. Su Jinhua received an empty pouch. Man proposes, God disposes. Fang Yu is lucky, but many of his meridians are broken. It'll be difficult for him to recover. Just a vast core realm cultivator like him can repair his meridians. Lin Dongying snorted disdainfully. But I feel like Qin Feng wants to help him. Don't forget that he's a goo expert. It's rumored that Gu King's Valley has some goo worms that can repair meridians. Qin Feng is from Gu King's Valley, and there are many more powerful people above him. I can't become enemies with Qin Feng. This matter will end here. In the future, we'll see what Fang Yu's luck is. If Qin Feng really helps him, I don't think the Gongsun family will let him off. Brother Su, if you need any help in the future, don't hesitate to ask. Before Lin Dongying left, she patted Su Jinhua's shoulder. She smiled faintly as if they were friends. Qin Feng is also very smart. Perhaps he'll suspect me. But so what? Would he fall out with me over a temporary disciple? I cultivate runic mantras, while he cultivates goo worms. We're both cultivators who don't cultivate the Grand Tao. Fighting for power doesn't have much to do with us. Su Jinhua returned to Immortal Seeking Peak. After a while, he saw Qin Feng bring several experts out of the palace. They flew back to Cloud Forest Valley. 3 months later. My physical body's injuries have finally healed. Now I can use the 100 acupoint finger art and use the 3 goo worms to attack my physical body. I'll use the advantage of having reached perfection to repair my meridians. Within the immortal cave, Su Fang appeared to be full of vigor and vitality, full of vigor after several months of cultivation, using 9 yang true qi to attack his body and nourish his meridians. His injuries had finally healed. Now he could start repairing his meridians. Brother Fang. Suddenly, a familiar coarse voice came from outside the cave. Chapter 137. After forming the hand seals, the cave's barrier disappeared. Lu Han, dressed in yellow, walked into the cave with majestic step. Su Fang saw that his attire was completely different from that of a temporary disciple. He was pleasantly surprised. Big Brother Lu, you passed the puppet tower. Lu Han said, I passed it twice. The second time was considered a success. I just went to the vulture cave to register and came back to pack my things when I heard that something happened to you. Are you alright? Some of my meridians are broken, but it's not a big deal. Was it done by the Lin and Gongsun families? Lu Han was furious. I'm not sure. Lu Han was too hot-tempered. He thought about it and decided not to implicate him. Moreover, Su Feng always liked to solve this kind of matter by himself. He hurriedly changed the topic. The Vulture Cave is one of the 7 great caves. Yes, this time I saw what a cave is. The Vulture Cave is filled with spiritual energy and spiritual fruit. All of them are official disciples. The Vulture Cave is not a huge Tao field, but is divided into 3 levels. They are also called the 3 levels of heaven: the lower immortal heaven, the upper immortal heaven, and the immortal heaven. Lu Han became excited and threw away his previous indignant expression. Us Heavenly Union Realm experts and Longevity Realm cultivators cultivate in the lower immortal heaven. The upper immortal heaven is the Tao field for Undying Realm experts, and the immortal heaven is the Tao field for Undying Realm geniuses. Undying Realm, this was an existence that surpassed the Longevity Realm. That was the true meaning of having boundless magic power and remarkable abilities. Lower immortal heaven, upper immortal heaven, and immortal heaven. Su Feng was entranced. He was imagining how magnificent the coffin cave was. Lu Han chuckled. Those who have reached the Undying Realm and Undying Realm have the ability to be immortal and indestructible. They can cultivate in the Vulture Cave's blessed land. They are also very free and are not bound by laws. Unfortunately, those kinds of experts will not appear in the lower immortal heaven. I can only enter the upper immortal heaven after breaking through the Longevity Realm and stepping into the Undying Realm. Congratulations to Big Brother Lu for becoming an official disciple. Don't congratulate me yet. 5 years later, the sect will hold a 100-year trial for the immortal level disciples. It's called the Mystical Cave Trial. I heard that the sect will leave a lot of treasures in the trial space. Those who are fated to obtain them will be able to obtain them. There are even high-grade magical weapons, many unimaginable supernatural powers, ancient rune talismans, some big goblins' gold cores, and the godly images left behind by the experts who passed away. The rewards of the Mystic Cave's trial are truly astonishing. What is a divine image? Godly images are undying, indestructible experts. Those geniuses have comprehended worlds. Worlds are domains and space. Godly images can control the space of nature and turn it into their own domain. Cultivators who can comprehend the power of a godly image are all outstanding geniuses. Once they comprehend a godly image, they have a very high chance of comprehending world force in the future. It seems I have to work harder and break through to the Golden Core realm. Then I'll pass the Puppet Tower's trial and participate in the Mystical Cave trial. Our luck is good. We just so happened to run into a new trial. I heard that the majority of the geniuses on the mortal, earth, and heaven rankings all obtained fortuitous encounters during the 100-year trial. They obtained all kinds of treasures left behind by their sections. In the end, their names spread throughout their sects, and they became heavenly geniuses that everyone on the Crimson Firmament continent knows. Brother, I've never admired anyone except you. I believe you'll be able to pass the Puppet Tower within 5 years. I'll be waiting for you at the Spirit Vulture's Paradise. Do you want to enter the Spirit Vulture's Paradise? Lu Han's tongue was like a blooming lotus flower. As soon as he opened his mouth, he would speak non-stop. Only at night did he leave. Su Feng used the 100 acupoint finger art with his gu to repair his meridians day and night. The effect was too shocking. That was because the gu had also absorbed a certain amount of yang qi. Its blood also contained a vigorous life energy. There are still 3 meridians left. After repairing over a dozen meridians, there were still 3 left. And counting the time, it had only been half a year. During this process, he had completely refined the 2 golden cores that had reached the heavenly fusion realm. Only 1 golden core of the immortality realm was left. As for his own core embryo, it contained rays of golden light. The golden light in his dantian was endless. This meant that Su Fang's core embryo had already absorbed a large amount of golden core essence. As long as he broke through from the 9th level of the vast core realm to the 10th level, then advancing from the 10th level to the heavenly fusion realm would be a matter of course. As long as his meridians recovered, he would need another year to condense a golden core. Holding on to this thought, Su Fang cultivated every day and night. As for Dao Wuliang, he also slowly increased his cultivation, preparing to enter the puppet tower with him. Green Feather King was also constantly providing Su Fang with the immortal sealing sect's source energy. When the immortal sealing sect sealed Green Feather King, they naturally didn't expect him to be able to escape the seal. Thus, they allowed Green Feather King to absorb a large amount of the immortal sealing sect's source energy for 10,000 years. Who would have thought that it would end up benefiting Su Fang? Today, I've come to tell you a piece of news. Only 1 meridian was left, and Su Fang would return to normal. Dao Wuliang suddenly came to the cave residence early in the morning and said mysteriously, "I guarantee that you'll be happy when you hear it." Su Fang stopped cultivating. "Oh! In this 1 year, I've convinced most people in the Cloud Forest Valley. I have connections, and I accidentally found out about Zhao Wuji's whereabouts." Zhao Wuji. As expected, Su Fang was pleasantly surprised when he heard it. Speaking of which, Zhao Wuji isn't simple. After entering the Immortal Sealing Sect, he was actually given a secret training ground by the Immortal Seeking Peak. Although it's a temporary training ground, it's located close to the official training ground. Not only is Zhao Wuji there, but there's also that bitch you're familiar with, Lulan. Dao Wuliang rubbed his fists. Zhao Wuji brought all his trusted aides and clansmen to the Immortal Sealing Sect. They're all in the secret training ground, and he rarely interacts with the temporary disciples outside. After thinking for a while, Su Fang suddenly frowned. Lulan married the 8th prince back then, and she's from the Zhao clan. It's reasonable for Zhao Wuji to bring her here. It seems like the 8th prince and the crown prince also came to the Immortal Sealing Sect. Old foxes, don't you find it strange? Zhao Wuji, a golden core cultivator, an ordinary cultivator who once contributed to the Immortal Sealing Sect's experts in the Zhao country, can have a secret training ground in the Immortal Sealing Sect? Moreover, he can bring everyone from the Zhao clan into the Immortal Sealing Sect. Indeed, it's my fault for not asking around. That Qin Feng said he would help you look for goo worms, but a year has passed, and he hasn't done anything. Dao Wuliang vented his displeasure before leaving the cave. I didn't count on him either. Watching Dao Wuliang leave, Su Fang thought about Lulan, the 8th prince, and Zhao Wuji. This world was too small. He met them in the past in the Zhao country, and now, he met them again in the Immortal Sealing Sect. Finally, the last meridian has been successfully repaired. Waves of energy gushed out from his body. He opened his palm and 3 goo worms crawled out. They were emitting a shocking amount of yang energy. After absorbing the 3 goo worms into his empty pouch, Su Fang began to break through to the 10th level of the vast core realm. 2 years of time to repair his meridians was equivalent to 2 years of energy accumulation. Pausing the 100 acupuncture points art, he pointed out a few finger techniques on his body, attacking each and every one of his spirit veins and flesh. When his energy reached its peak, he unsealed his acupuncture points at lightning speed. Pingay familiar energy rushed out from Su Fang's body like countless wild horses. The impurities in his placenta were wind and sand, and they hit the walls of the cave together with his blood. The energy formed 10 layers, twisting and extending, and merged with Su Fang's body. 10th level of the vast core realm. Furthermore, a faint golden light was emitted from his lower abdomen. Originally, only a gold core expert would have such an aura. However, Su Fang had absorbed and refined several gold cores, and now, his core embryo already possessed the essence of a gold core. The energy from the advancement continued to attack his divine apertures, and his magic power formed a whirlpool that was increasing. The yang energy in his body had reached its peak. Although he had just broken through to the 10th level of the vast core realm, the energy in his body was already close to the 10th level. Luckily, I have a longevity gold core. Advancing to the heaven fusion realm this time shouldn't be a problem. After the advancement, he left the cave and went to see Qin Feng with Dao Wuliang. After obtaining 2 years to pass the tribulation, the two immediately flew out of the immortal sealing sect. More than a year to repair his meridians by himself. Seeing the two leave, Qin Feng was shocked. He thought that without his help, Su Fang wouldn't be able to repair his meridians for the rest of his life. Since Grand Master recommended them, it seems that all of them are outstanding. Fine, since they are talented, they will be friends of my Gu King Valley in the future. Qin Feng turned around and looked at the valley. Su Jinhua, don't think of doing anything to them in the future. They are about to become official disciples. 2 hours later, Su Fang and Dao Wuliang rode on their flying swords and entered a primitive forest. Along the way, they caught a few wild monsters and absorbed them into the mysterious yellow for Green Feather King to refine. I only need to use the chi of a human's gold core and condense a gold core with the energy of the immortal sealing sect. Then, I will be able to advance to the heaven fusion realm. Landing on the mountain peak, Dao Wuliang naturally didn't need to pass the tribulation. Instead, he came to protect Su Fang. He released his demonic aura and released 100 poisonous smoke that hid in the clouds like a dark cloud. Su Fang took out some spirit stones and set up a spirit gathering array, making preparations. Especially the longevity gold core, it would be of great help to him. Once he stepped into the heaven fusion realm, his strength would increase by 100 times. Activating his core, it began to revolve in his dantian. The seals on his body were also undone. Although he was only at the 10th level of the vast core realm, he had the strength of a heaven fusion realm cultivator. This chi that surpassed one's cultivation level immediately soared into the sky. Surpassing one's cultivation level was the standard to measure a genius in the world of cultivators. Whoosh whoosh, large amounts of dark clouds descended from the heavens and the earth, becoming more and more terrifying. Thunder roared, as if an army of thousands of men and horses were casting a large net to kill Su Fang. As the tribulation clouds approached, Su Fang raised his hand and floated up valiantly. His entire body was filled with a fierce energy, fusing with his yang qi. A powerful qi essence aura appeared around him. Watch my attack shatter the heavenly tribulation. Without waiting for the heavenly tribulation to descend, he began to use his divine ability. Moreover, it wasn't some great divine ability, such as the illusory fire cloud, but the dragon snake tornado. The dragon snake tornado turned into a golden storm as Su Fang waved his hands. It separated from his palms and grew longer and longer. A second ago, it was only 1 zhang, but in the blink of an eye, it was 10 zhang. Then, it continued to revolve. A dragon and a snake began to merge, and the dragon and snake soared. Whoosh! After waiting for an hour, the heavenly tribulation finally exploded. A large amount of tribulation fire burst out from the tribulation clouds, one after another. Dao Wuliang rode the dark clouds and transmitted his voice from afar. This is a very terrifying burning tribulation fire. Dragon snake tornado, go! With an aura that could move mountains and rivers, the dragon snake tornado was dragged into the sky. To the dragon snake tornado was like a devouring demon. After entering the sky, under Su Fang's control, it saw a ball of burning tribulation fire and sucked it in, twisting it into pieces. Then, more and more burning tribulation fire was absorbed by the dragon snake tornado. The dragon snake tornado also turned into a burning monster that was 300 zhang tall. Thinking back to the Dharma cave and transcendent realms' heavenly tribulations, the difference between them was too great. How many Dharma cave and transcendent realms cultivators could it kill? The dragon snake tornado burned as if it was about to explode. Su Fang sped up. Seeing that the tribulation clouds were no longer shooting out burning tribulation fire, he released the dragon snake tornado into the distance. Whoosh! After the dragon snake tornado was 300 zhang away, it lost control of the seal and immediately exploded. Countless tribulation fire flooded the ground like a flood. A mountain range became a mountain of flames. Chapter 138. With just a wave of Su Fang's divine ability, the divine ability and the heavenly tribulation fire turned into a flaming mountain. If it burned for a long time, it would eventually become a spiritual land like the Red Palm volcano. Seeing such a masterpiece, even Su Fang himself was shocked. The power of the heavens and the cultivators was indeed earth-shattering. Especially when the cultivators were strong, they could guide the power of the heavens and the earth to create a destructive power that surpassed the cultivators. At this time, the aura of the heavenly tribulation was obviously much weaker than before. Some divine light descended, and when his body breathed in the divine light, his meridians and bones exploded and shattered. Especially his Jindan. This was the moment that Su Fang looked forward to the most. His Jindan was constantly changing. In fact, the divine light that entered his body was the will of the heavens. It represented that Su Fang had passed the test and entered the heavenly fusion realm from the vast core realm. With a tremor, Su Fang immediately looked at his dantian. His Jindan had turned into a blood-red purple river. It was as if his dantian had turned into purple blood. The purple blood surged and roared ferociously. Finally it boiled. Su Fang formed countless seals, and together with the purple blood river, pure golden light shone from it. Moreover, the chi marks formed by cultivating the great transformation of the diamond body and the illusory fire cloud also turned into divine mark. Only then did Su Fang realize the importance of divine mark. The purple blood was condensing into a Jindan. There was no room for error. If it failed, the purple river would attack his entire body. The two divine marks became stronger and stronger. Under Su Fang's control, they wrapped around the purple river, refining and absorbing it. The divine marks intertwined to form a barrier. Divine mark barrier. This was the reason why the Jindan was so strong. The reason why the Jindan could not be destroyed after leaving the body was because of the protection of the divine marks. The energy C and Jindan did not have this ability. The divine light that came from the heavenly tribulation also helped Su Fang to advance. Every part of his body was shattering. To him, the Jindan was his first core. Soon, the purple color faded away. A Jindan that was slightly bigger than a pearl slowly rose and became the only existence in his dantian. All the qi and yang qi in his dantian were absorbed by the Jindan. Jindan. This was the reason why cultivators lived long lives, had boundless magic power, and could split mountains. The golden elixir was the condensation of the essence of the body. Su Fang took a closer look and found that the golden elixir was no longer in the state of a faint aura. Instead, it had a substantial aura of blood, profound qi and life. It was as if the essence of countless lives had gathered together to form the golden elixir. Once the gold core was formed, Su Fang felt as if he was breathing with the heavens and earth, as if he was a part of the heavens and earth. The gold core was like the three divine suns in the sky, floating in the firmament. At the same time, the large-scale destruction of his corporeal body also stopped, and the power of advancement also entered his divine aperture. Because his attention was focused on the Jindan, when he saw the divine aperture, it was incomparably clear. It felt like a conch shell floating in the depths of his brain. The supernatural power inside was surging, absorbing the essence of Su Fang's body to advance. His meridians had also become 10 times thicker. When he looked around his body, there were at least a finger-deep layer of impurities in the placenta. It was truly astonishing. Only with a golden core could one be considered an expert. One could also pursue longevity, immortality, and indestructibility. The golden core was like a human's fate wheel. Trees had growth rings, and humans also had fate wheels, which was the golden core. As one continued to cultivate, the golden core would become stronger and sturdier. As one's realm increased, the human's lifespan would break through the shackles, and one would have the hope of living to 1,000 years old. At this moment, Su Fang clearly saw the general shape of the spirit vein in his right arm for the first time. The spirit vein, which was obtained by the Su family's ancestors, was mostly in Su Fang's body. It now looked like a rectangle of purple light, about half a foot long, but the space inside was very vast. It had already formed a space of its own in Su Fang's right arm, and inside the purple light spirit vein, it was forming the shape of a pagoda. This also meant that the spirit vein was fusing with the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda, and the progress was good. He felt that 1/3 of the fusion with Xianhuang had been completed, especially after breaking through to the heaven fusion stage. 1/3 plus Xianhuang was a king-grade instrument. Now Su Fang could activate Xianhuang, and he could activate many of the abilities contained in Xianhuang. The higher Su Fang's cultivation, the more complete the fusion with Xianhuang. In addition, Green Feather King refined the gold and silver energy, causing Xianhuang to constantly recover. Fusion. Su Fang sucked the only longevity golden pill into his dantian, directly devouring the power of the golden pill to strengthen the newly condensed golden pill. At this moment, he released his senses. With his great perfection ability, his hearing ability had already surpassed that of an ant's nest. Even in the depths of the earth and the faraway skies, he could hear countless sounds. Just by relying on his naked eyes, he could see everything within 5 kilometers. The Yang Meridian is also about to succeed. He then paid attention to the condensed Yang Meridian in his body. After this breakthrough, this meridian had been attacked by 9 Yang True Qi countless times. According to the 9 Yang 9 transformations technique, the energy in the meridian, from blood to energy, was all 9 Yang True Qi. This meant that the first Yang meridian was about to be successfully condensed, and it would be born after a while. After swallowing some pure Yuan pills, Su Fang and Dao Wuliang met in the sky, and immediately rushed to the Celestial Ceiling Sect. Celestial Ceiling Sect, Cloud Forest Valley. When the two arrived, the first thing they did was to see Qin Feng. "You've successfully reached the Heaven Union realm." Qin Feng received the two in the pavilion. When he saw Su Fang and Dao Wuliang again, he could clearly feel the golden pill qi circulating. Qin Feng was rather surprised. To be able to step into the Heaven Union realm within 2 years of entering the sect, this was already unbelievable. Moreover, Qin Feng also knew that Su Fang was someone who had crossed realms. He secretly saw that Su Fang and Dao Wuliang were no longer ordinary disciples. Qin Feng personally led the two to the Immortal Seeking Peak and immediately entered the main hall. And in the main hall, layers of formations merged together. Each layer of formations was a hall. Qin Feng asked the higher-ups of the Immortal Seeking Peak for the two of them to challenge the puppet tower, and he quickly received a response. Su Fang also said that the sooner they challenged the puppet tower, the better. Seeing that he was so confident, Qin Feng brought the two of them out of the main hall and arrived at the peak of the Immortal Seeking Peak. After entering the peak's boundary, a towering black tower appeared in front of the two of them. This was the puppet tower. "The two of you are now at the Heaven Union realm." After entering, the puppets inside will also release Heaven Union Realm strength. They will use formations, divine abilities, close-range attacks, and other methods to stop you. There are many puppets inside, try not to awaken more puppets. Under the puppet tower, there were 2 extraordinary disciples standing guard. Qin Feng was even more nervous than Su Fang and Dao Wuliang when they were about to enter the tower. He could see that the 2 of them had great potential, and it would be even better if they could become members of the Gu King Valley in the future. I will wait for the 2 of you at the back exit of the puppet tower. Once you succeed, your identity will be verified and you will become an official disciple. You can choose your dojo and so on. 3 times. To Su Fang and Dao Wuliang they still had 3 times, but they still thanked Qin Feng in person. If it wasn't for him, they would have had to take many detours. The 2 of them immediately walked towards the entrance of the tower. There are many spaces inside the puppet tower. It can allow 100 people to challenge at the same time. As long as you step in, the formations will automatically activate. There are 30 puppets in each passage. When you step in, 5 puppets will awaken. If you can seize the opportunity, you can only deal with 5 puppets. But if you are not careful and awaken the other puppets, you will have to face the joint attack of 30 puppets. Under the cold entrance of the tower, the 2 disciples explained the details of the challenge. There were many mysterious carvings on the entrance of the tower. It really looked like an ordinary tower. Fortunately, Su Fang and Dao Wuliang both knew that this puppet tower was an artifact and knew what to do. The 2 experts formed hand seals. With a flash, the thick and heavy entrance of the tower suddenly turned into a shadow. Su Fang and Dao Wuliang nodded at each other and strode in. When they came into contact with the boundary of the Xianguang, Su Fang could no longer see Dao Wuliang's shadow. In front of him was a cold rectangular space. It was like an underground space. Under the gloomy light there were figures that looked like steel. In addition to the gloomy light around them, these figures felt like an army of war gods that were sleeping underground. Papa. These were the puppets. Standing in 2 teams, they guarded the 2 sides of the passageway respectively. Moreover, the 5 puppets in front gradually showed signs of movement, and sounds like joints rang out. In the blink of an eye, 5 figures walked toward Su Fang, releasing an astonishing aura that had reached the Heavenly Union tier. Good timing. Puppets with the strength of a Heaven Union Realm first tier. If it were any other disciple, they would be extremely nervous. But in Su Fang's smile there was only calmness. Swish, swish, swish. The puppets suddenly quickened their pace. After a few steps, they pounced towards Su Fang. Each of them had the appearance of a young man or a middle-aged man. They looked very lifelike, as if they were alive. Green Feather Monarch suddenly said, "These puppets were refined from human bodies." The Celestial Sealing Sect used disciples who had committed serious crimes to refine skin puppets. This is a very special ability of the Celestial Sealing Sect. This explains Zhao Wuji's puppet in Zhao country. It should have been refined by the Celestial Sealing Sect for him. After hearing this, Su Fang's heart shuddered. Human skin puppets. The Celestial Sealing Sect was so ruthless. If they treated their disciples like this, then how cruel would they be to their enemies? Pung pung. The puppets attacked. The 5 puppets released shocking sword chi. They opened their mouths and shot out layers of sword light. 5 against 1. The Celestial Sealing Sect was indeed strict in accepting disciples. Su Fang tapped out with a finger, shattering a layer of sword chi. His finger tapped on a puppet, and it instantly shattered like a jar. The other 4 puppets suddenly appeared and flashed around Su Fang. Their speed was so fast that their shadows could not be seen. Su Fang used his consummate ability. It was just like when he defeated the Sky Gate's Sage Emperor. He looked around and saw the 4 puppets flying around. Their speed was getting slower and slower. Su Fang smiled and slapped his hands at the same time. Boom boom. The air shook. 4 gusts of wind exploded, and a large number of puppet fragments fell to the ground. It was easy. This kind of test was like child's play to Su Fong. He walked straight to the other end of the tunnel. The puppets stood on both sides. None of them had awakened, until Su Fong saw the faint light door appear. Stepping into the door, the Xian Guang appeared in front of him. Sunlight and floating mountains suddenly appeared in front of him. He did not expect that the exit of the puppet tower was not a temporary dojo. It seemed to be the dojo world where the 7 grotto heavens were. Ha ha! A familiar laughter sounded. It turned out that almost at the same time, Dao Wuliang appeared from the void. The Xian Guang disappeared, and a dozen official disciples stood in front of them. Qin Feng congratulated the two of them. Congratulations! Junior brother Qin, congratulations to you too. You've nurtured 2 more junior brothers. Your mission should be completed soon, right? The official disciples around him chatted with Qin Feng. Qin Feng introduced them. These people were the guides for the official disciples. They introduced the 7 grotto heavens to the 2 of them on the spot. They also formed new tokens for Su Fong and Dao Wuliang, as well as the yellow robes. Of course, there were also new empty pouches, illusion cloud rope, a mid-grade flying sword, and 10 pure origin pills. They were all rewards for entering the sect. After a while, Qin Feng and another official disciple led the 2 of them to fly on their sword. The expert said, "The 7 grotto heavens are Misty Grotto Heaven, Universe Grotto Heaven, Myriad Dao Grotto Heaven, Qingqing Grotto Heaven, Spiritual Coffin Grotto Heaven, Withered Wood Grotto Heaven, and Frozen Moon Grotto Heaven. Each grotto heaven has a large number of disciples. The 2 of you could have freely chosen a grotto heaven, but Frozen Moon Grotto Heaven suddenly wanted a few disciples." Chapter 139. Frozen Moon Heavenly Paradise. Su Fong had wanted to choose Vulture Heavenly Paradise and stay with Lu Han. That way, he could get used to being an official disciple faster. But he didn't have a choice and directly entered Frozen Moon Heavenly Paradise. Qin Feng secretly transmitted a message: "The Frozen Moon Grotto is very powerful. Although on the surface there are some differences with the Misty Grotto and the Universe Grotto Heaven, the Frozen Moon Grotto also has many geniuses who are on the Heaven, Earth, and Man list. They can laugh at the 7 Great Grotto Heaven Dojo. The other dojos still have to choose." Su Fong also didn't understand. To him, any of the 7 Heavenly Paradise Dao sects was fine. It would be best if he was in the same Dao sect as Zhao Wuji, but now it seemed that was impossible. Another disciple cast a seal and gradually entered the floating mountains of the immortal Sealing sect. There were many spirit beasts living there, and they were all at the gold core stage. After flying a few kilometers, the disciple once again cast a seal, and a suction force from the array pulled them into the array space, and they flew along with the array. Swish, swish. In the blink of an eye, they appeared in front of a solid barrier. The man made a few hand seals, and with a buzzing sound, the barrier seemed to be pulled open by a big hand. A world with countless floating mountains and forests, and no end in sight, came into view. Frozen Moon Heavenly Paradise, only 2 disciples. A yellow-robed man appeared from the spiritual chi mist. The expert from the puppet tower cupped his fist. "Senior brother Yu, these 2 junior brothers are the only ones who have passed the puppet tower's test. And they only used less than half an incense stick's worth of time to pass. Heavenly Harmony Realm is not bad. They have the potential to reach the Longevity Realm. To be able to pass the puppet tower in such a short time, they're really outstanding." The man surnamed Yu took the jade slip and learned about Su Fong and Dao Wuliang's history in the temporary Dao sect. Qin Feng also knew this disciple surnamed Yu, but Su Fong felt that he was a disciple of the immortal Sealing sect. If he knew a cultivator from the Gu King's Valley, it meant that the Gu cultivation Dao was very influential in the immortal Sealing sect. From challenging the puppet tower to appearing in the Frozen Moon Cave Dojo, Qin Feng had been in charge. The others did not make things difficult for Su Feng and Dao Wuliang. This was out of respect for the Gu King Valley. Feng Yu, Dao Wuliang, follow me to the dojo. From this day on, you are part of the Frozen Moon Paradise. The man surnamed Yu waved his hand at Qin Feng and Dao Wuliang. After making a hand seal, the boundary of the dojo was sealed again. The man surnamed Yu flew over the floating mountains with Su Feng and Dao Wuliang. He gave a rough introduction. The disciples of our Frozen Moon Dojo, who are currently cultivating in the lower immortal heavens, are basically all at the Longevity Realm and Heaven Union Realm. There are also some at the Vast Core Realm. Those who are able to enter as Vast Core Realm are either disciples with great potential or those who relied on their connections to enter. For example, some of the princes and young masters of the empires and clans in the Crimson Nimbus continent. These people are only able to enter because the sect is giving face to the forces behind them. There are tens of thousands of disciples in the lower immortal heavens, and most of them have outstanding potential. Tens of thousands of disciples. If one of the 7 great grotto heavens already had so many disciples, then how many disciples did the entire celestial sealing sect have? High immortal heavens and touching immortal heavens, look. Just above our heads in the depths of the formation, we Longevity Realm disciples can see the 2 dojos in the depths of the formation every day. Who doesn't use it to motivate themselves and hope that one day, they can become existences in the depths of the clouds? You too are the ones who have reached the Heaven Union Realm and the Longevity Realm, right? It seemed that the man surnamed you was purposely taking care of the 2. He should know that they were related to the Gu King Valley. Otherwise, why would he be so polite to the 2 newcomers? After chatting for a while, they found out that the man surnamed you was called Yu Xingzi. Behind him was also a cultivator family with 1,000 years of history. He was at the Longevity Realm and stood at the peak of the Immortal Heavens Dojo in the Frozen Moon Cave. He was also a high-level disciple of the dojo. According to his in-depth introduction, this time, a sect master of the Frozen Moon Dojo named Yen Kaifeng had brought a group of disciples out for training. In the end, they were attacked by the Demon Gate and lost dozens of disciples. Only then did they take the initiative to recruit disciples from the Puppet Tower. Sect masters, these were the true experts of the 7 great grotto heavens. There were quite a number of saint sovereigns in each dojo. They were responsible for the cultivation of a portion of disciples with great potential. Above the saint sovereigns were the Dao Palm sovereign, who was even stronger and had a higher status. Although Yu Xingzi was a high-level disciple of the lower immortal heavens, he was not a sect master. A sect master was not only a Longevity Realm expert, but also a person with a high cultivation level. This was because a sect master was also responsible for passing down magical powers and disciples' cultivation. It was similar to a sect master. A sect master also had the power to control life and death in every dojo in the Celestial Sealing sect. They also had the power to decide whether a disciple could stay or leave. Therefore, in the Frozen Moon Cave, a sect master was an existence that all disciples respected. Senior Sister Yen is different from other sect masters. She likes to nurture her disciples step by step from the moment they enter the sect. Other sect masters usually go to other training halls or temporary training halls to take in outstanding disciples. Yu Xingzi continued his introduction. He pointed to a floating mountain range surrounded by more than 10 mountain peaks and a large forest. This is the training hall that Senior Sister Yen controls. There are more than 100 disciples cultivating there. After a few breaths, the 3 of them arrived in the middle of the mountain range. They could see many floating pavilions and palaces in the middle of the mountain range. A sect master's dojo was indeed different. After waiting in the air for a while, a young man flew over from the misty mountain stream. He saluted Yu Xingzi. Senior Brother Yu. Yu Xingzi said, Junior Brother Jing, This is Fang Yu and Dao Wuliang. They just passed the test of the puppet tower. I brought them to the sect master as soon as possible. Thank you, senior brother. The sect master just refined some pure essence pills. The young man surnamed Zheng was very generous. He took out dozens of pure essence pills and handed them to Yu Xingzi. Yu Xingzi said a few polite words, took the pure essence pills, and left in the air. I am Jing Daoxin, the disciple who handles the daily affairs of the sect master. I will bring you to see the sect master now. The young man surnamed Zheng introduced himself casually. One look at this person's aura and one could tell that he was a longevity realm expert. His strength should be about the same as Yu Xingzi's. Longevity realm experts had a very obvious characteristic, which was their life aura and chi essence aura. Even if an expert could hide it, it would be revealed through their skin, eyes, and hair. After all, longevity realm experts had already begun to pursue the secret of longevity. Heavenly Union realm cultivators were different. Their aura was mainly golden core, while vast core realm cultivators did not even have golden core aura. Zheng Daoxin immediately brought the two of them and flew directly into the mountain range. It was the only green mountain that was floating in the clouds. It seemed like this was the dojo or palace of the sect master Yen Kaifeng. In a moment they arrived in front of the green mountain. Zheng Daoxin then gestured for the two of them not to take another step forward. Immediately, in front of the empty green mountain, a figure appeared. Was it a woman? She was a woman in a purple robe. Her face could not be seen clearly. She said in a lofty tone, "When you enter my dojo, you only need to remember one thing. Cultivate diligently. As long as you are diligent, you will have many pure essence pills, magic treasures, and divine abilities." There was also a divine ability, and it was one of the 7 great divine abilities of the immortal sealing sect. The Daluo Heavenly Sword Qijing Daoxin also gave them a few more things to take note of, as well as the rules of the Frozen Moon Paradise. Just as he was about to leave, he suddenly warned them, cultivate well during this time. The Frozen Moon Paradise is preparing for this year's 100-year trial. You've only just entered, so it's best if you don't sign up. Of course, you can sign up, but the Profound Caves trial is very dangerous. You won't be able to obtain any treasures, and you might even die inside. Su Fang didn't even think about it. Of course we have to sign up. We just want to see the world. It happens once every 100 years. Although Heavenly Union cultivators have a lifespan of nearly 1,000 years, they might not actually live past 100 years. That's true. It's good to see the world. Most of the lower immortal celestial disciples of the 7 great heavenly grottos will participate. Over 100,000 disciples training is indeed a spectacular sight, but there are also some who will be injured or even killed. But as long as you don't fight over treasures with others, your lives won't be in danger. I'll sign you up now. There are still 3 years. Cultivate here for these 3 years, and I won't give you any missions. Zheng Daoxin flew away. Just now we should have taught those official disciples a lesson for looking down on us. They've gone too far. Dao Wuliang spat out a gust of astral wind that blew away the weeds and debris around the 2 immortal caves. He was extremely angry. Official Dao halls can't be compared to temporary Dao halls. If you can endure it, endure it. Furthermore, you and I also need to cultivate in a secluded place. I've heard Senior Pring King say that the Immortal Sealing Sect has quite a few treasures. This 100-year trial is a rare opportunity. Let's keep quiet for now. Once we enter the Profound Caves trial, we'll fight for treasures. Su Fang said a few more words before Dao Wuliang quietly entered the left immortal cave. Su Fang then entered the right immortal cave. Author's words. At the end of the month, it won't explode anymore. Although it's not that it won't explode anymore, I can guarantee that during the new year, I'll still be able to maintain the balance. I'll be able to steadily update every day and pass the new year peacefully. Chapter 140. It seemed the cave had been abandoned for at least 100 years. Even the stone bench had been reduced to rubble. There were quite a few engravings on the walls, such as sword arts, fist arts, formations, and so on. Perhaps many disciples had cultivated here in the past. He released the dragon snake scroll to sweep everything away. Then he embedded some spirit stones and gems into it. In any case, it could be considered an ordinary cave. Fortunately, even at the foot of the mountain, there was still abundant spiritual qi. Since he had 3 years, Su Fang planned to cultivate in peace. 3 years was enough for him to break through several realms. He might even reach the peak of heavenly union at that time. Furthermore, he needed to properly refine his golden core and strengthen his body. He also planned to use these 3 years to attack his first yang meridian. In the blink of an eye, several months passed. Su Fang was sitting in the air, releasing a faint golden light from his body. His consciousness was in the first layer of profound yellow. Green Feather King said, "The Daluo Heavenly Sword Qi is indeed one of the 7 great divine abilities of the Immortal Sealing Sect. Once cultivated to greater mastery, it's extremely powerful." This king suffered quite a bit from this divine ability in his battle with the Immortal Sealing Sect's expert. If you can grasp this divine ability, you will become a true upper echelon of the Immortal Sealing Sect. So he had been preparing to cultivate the Daluo Heavenly Sword Qi and had come to consult Green Feather King. As expected, Green Feather King had an incomparable understanding of the Immortal Sealing Sect. Not only that, but he also had the Daluo Heavenly Sword Qi. Cultivating the 1st to 10th layers was equivalent to him grasping one of the Immortal Sealing Sect's divine abilities. Su Fang sighed at the power of this divine ability after fusing with the Daluo Heavenly Sword Qi's 10 layers. Although it couldn't compare to the illusory fire cloud, its offensive power was boundless. It also had many variations, such as the fusion of sword qi and sword formations. Green Feather King was an old fogey. Not only had he grasped the Daluo Heavenly Sword Qi, but he also had other divine abilities. Furthermore, he had cultivated the Daluo Heavenly Sword Qi before. What was it? Sword Qi condensed from the essence of the Daluo Heavenly Sword Qi. The House of Immortal Sealing had spent 10,000 years and a great deal of effort to suppress him. All sorts of experts had been pouring energy into him to suppress his demonic energy, allowing the House of Immortal Sealing to implant it into his body. Because of that, without demonic energy to use, King Greenfeather was nothing more than an ordinary lesser demon. Over the years, King Greenfeather spent most of his free time studying the various types of power within him, and studying the various divine abilities of the House of Immortal Sealing.